Good afternoon, everybody. It's Steve Lookner with Agenda Free TV. Oh my gosh, stocks are up so much. Why are stocks up so much? Why all of a sudden is the New York Stock Exchange Dow Jones Industrials up 5.5%? Because President Trump, about 12 hours and 17 minutes after the new tariffs came into effect, announced a tariff pause and reduction. President Trump announced that for 90 days, the baseline 10% tariff is completely paused. And for 90 days, all of the tariffs above 10% get reduced to 10%. The only country that didn't get tariffs reduced is China. China had their tariffs raised an additional 21%. So instead of 104%, the tariffs on China are now 125%. But that's it. So again, 90-day pause on the 10% baseline tariff. For all the countries with tariffs above 10%, those go down to 10% for 90 days. And China, instead of 104%, they have 125% tariffs. So now you're seeing the Dow Jones is up 6%. This coming again, last night the reciprocal tariffs, those above 10%, went into effect at 12:01. And then 12 hours and 17 minutes later, President Trump announced that those are all getting paused. So short-lived reciprocal tariffs. Let me show you here what President Trump had to say about this. I'll show you his own words here. Let me make sure I'm not missing any kind of news conference or anything. Hold on one second here. Let me just make sure I'm not missing any kind of announcement. Hold on a moment here. All right, I don't see anything there. Trump is supposed to do a public appearance fairly soon. But I don't know how things might change with this surprise announcement. He was going to do an appearance with racing champions, I believe. Anyways, Dow Jones now up 6.5%. I'll get you the other. We'll talk about the other indexes in a second. Let me just check here. All right, I don't see him speaking now or anything. Oops. One moment. Oh, hold on. There is Levitt and Bessett are speaking. Hold on a moment here. I got to find this. I'm having a little bit of an issue here. Maybe there is something going on right now. I didn't see it on AP, on Reuters. Give me one moment. Why is this not coming in? It's something going on at the White House. Oh, they just finished speaking on Fox. I don't know if that I don't think I had that. Let me see if I can get video. I'm just rushed on the air, so apologies for being a little confused as to what's happened with who's speaking and everything like that. All right, the White House is not live now. They didn't go live on their YouTube page. Do I have video that maybe just happened? Let me check this. I might be able to get you the video if I... Hold on. Hang on 1 minute. Replay. Oh, okay. Hold on. I think I can... Yes. I can play you... Scott Bessent and Carolyn Levitt spoke at the White House, and I have the video of it. Some of you may already have seen this. Okay, I'm going to play this for you in a second. I am downloading it right now. Why is that so? Oh, yes. I am downloading the video of them speaking. So while I'm waiting for that to download, let me show you what President Trump had to say. Okay? We'll play that video for you in a second. Here is what President Trump had to say here. Okay, there, you can see it on your screen. President Trump said, based on the lack of respect that China has shown to the world's markets, I am hereby raising the tariff charged to China by the U.S. to 125% effective immediately. So just so you know, in case you didn't know, China a few hours ago, earlier today, said they were going to match the U.S., the new 50% tariff increase by the U.S. and raise their tariffs on the U.S. by 50%. So China had matched the 50% increase, and then Trump he just announced that he's raising the tariffs on them 21 more percent, so now it's 125%. Fine. But then he said, at some point, hopefully in the near future, China will realize that the days of ripping off the USA and other countries is no longer sustainable or acceptable. Conversely, and based on the fact that more than 75 countries have called representatives of the United States, including the Departments of Commerce, Treasury, and the USTR, to negotiate a solution to the subjects being discussed relative to trade barriers, tariffs, currency manipulation, and non-monetary tariffs, and that these countries have not, at my strong suggestion, retaliated in any way, shape, or form against the United States, I have authorized a 90-day pause, and a substantially lowered reciprocal tariff during this period of 10%, also effective immediately. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So, as I read this, it's a little confusing. But as I read this, what it says to me is that the 10% baseline tariff is paused for 90 days. The reciprocal tariffs, which are the tariff above 10% on some countries, has been lowered to 10% for 90 days. And yeah, that's how I read that. It's not totally clear, but that is how I read it, because he talks about a 90-day pause and a 90-day lowering. So remember, there's two types of tariffs. There's the baseline 10%, and then there's the reciprocal, which is the above 10%. That went on, that got implemented last night. So as I read this, the 90-day, if you just had 10% tariffs before, you have no tariff for 90 days. If you had more than 10% tariff before, you have 10% now. That's how I'm reading this. And China is now 125 instead of 104. Why is this taking so long to download? Hold on a second. I'm trying to, give me 2 seconds here. I'm trying to get you that video of Besant speaking with Carolyn Levitt. Maybe I should just play it this way. It's weird. It's like taking forever to download. Hang on 1 second here. Let me just do something real quick here. Let me do something real quick. Oh, all right, it's better now. It's faster now. It's downloading faster. I think it's downloading faster now. All right, we're making progress. So in a couple of minutes, again, I have to download the video of Scott Bessent, the Secretary of the Treasury, and Carolyn Levitt speaking. So in a moment, I'll have that for you. The Dow is up 7%. Breaking news, the Dow is up 7%. Let's see, what are the other indexes doing? So the S&P 500 is up about 8%. NASDAQ is up 10%. NASDAQ is up 10%. The Russell 2000 is up 7.25%. What's up with Bitcoin right now? Let's see. Bitcoin is now up to 82,000. Bitcoin has gone up from roughly 77,000 to 82,000 since this announcement. Let's see here. All right, so I'm downloading. It's still downloading slow. Can I just play this for you? No, it's still downloading. All right. Give me like 3 minutes and I'll have the video for you of Bessent and Carolyn Levitt speaking. Let me check something else here. Again, in case you missed it, President Trump announced a tariff pause and reduction. And he said, as I understand it, for 90 days, the baseline 10% tariff on all the countries that had the tariff put on it is gone. 90 days, that's gone. For 90 days, if you had a tariff of more than 10%, you know, remember like Vietnam had 40%, so 40-something percent tariffs? That it goes down to 10% for 90 days. And he said, but China is having their tariff increased by 21% to 125% total. That's the one exception. All right, hang on a moment. I almost have the video for you. Howard Lutnick, the Secretary of Commerce, posted that Scott Bessent and I sat with the president while he wrote one of the most extraordinary truth posts of his presidency. The world is ready to work with President Trump to fix global trade, and China has chosen the opposite direction. So Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick calls this one of the most extraordinary truth posts of Trump's presidency. Just about a minute, I'll have that video for you. We're going to show you the video from a few minutes ago of Scott Bessent and Carolyn Levitt speaking at the White House. The Dow is up 6.2%. S&P 500 up 7.16%. NASDAQ up over 9%. A little over 9%. Russell 2000 up around 7%. I'm just waiting for that to finish downloading the video, and then I'm going to play it for you. Again, this comes about 12 hours after the reciprocal tariffs went into effect. A little more than 12 hours after the reciprocal tariffs went into effect, the above 10% ones, they have now been paused. So those reciprocal tariffs lasted, except for the China one, lasted a little more than 12 hours. Okay, I think I have the video to play for you. Let me pull this up here. Let me pull up the video. Hopefully this works. I have the video here. I need to put it on the screen for you. All right, hold on. We can hear it. We can hear it. Hopefully the audio is not so messed up. Okay, this is in front of the White House. Let me pull this on the screen for you. Hang on a moment. Hang on a moment. I am pulling it up here. There it is. Okay, there it is. Now, okay, you can see you can see this. So what I want to do is make this bigger. All right, that's bigger. No, I want to move it. I want to do this for a second. That down a little bit. There you go. Move that up. There you go. Is that about as good as we're going to get? No. We're going to leave it like that. Okay, this is moments ago, and I'll have it say on the screen moments ago. Just fixing this. Moments ago. Okay. We don't want people to be confused. We need this to be moved down. Thanks for bearing with me while I get this on the screen for you. Moments ago. Oops. And this is going to be Scott Bessent speaking. Let's see. All right. Let's see if we can hear this. I might have to turn up the volume or something.
They are a problem for the rest of the world because what we've seen is that as the U.S. announced the tariff wall last week, many of those goods have already started flooding into Europe.
So as you see it now.
All right. So this is, I have the volume boosted on this. I have the volume boosted. It's playing really low. Maybe I can do one other thing to boost it up more. Maybe they might. Oh, by the way, there's actually also a typo here. My guess is maybe they were caught off guard with this whole quick announcement. So I haven't even looked at the video. Maybe 30 seconds in, the audio gets better. But I'll try to boost the audio while it's initially playing. I'm just pulling up my audio thing right here to try to boost it. I think I can boost it some more. Okay, let's try this. Let's try this. This is Scott Bessent speaking, the Secretary of the Treasury.
This trade war is the rest of the world.
Well, I'm not calling it a trade war, but I am saying that China has escalated, and President Trump responded very courageously to that, and we are going to work on a solution with our trading partners.
What happened to the council?
Excuse me, Raquel, if I could just add to what the Secretary said. Many of you in the media clearly missed the art of the deal. You clearly failed to see what President Trump is doing here. You tried to say that the rest of the world would be moved closer to China when in fact we've seen the opposite effect. The entire world is calling the United States of America, not China, because they need our markets, they need our consumers, and they need this president in the Oval Office to talk to them. And that's exactly why more than 75 countries have called, because the United States of America is the best place in the world to do business. And as the president has shown great courage, as the secretary has said, it's choosing to retaliate against China even higher.
Thank you, Treasury Secretary Bessent. Can you explain more of the decision-making on what feels like a reversal here? I mean, just these went into effect less than 15 hours ago, these tariffs. Why the pause now? What led to that?
No, again, President Trump created maximum negotiating leverage for himself, and which tariffs went into effect 15 hours ago? The ones that we have lowered went into effect a week ago. They were announced a week ago, and we've just been overwhelmed by the response from mostly our allies who want to come and negotiate.
By the way, I know that the audio and video isn't really synced. I have to look at that. This video I just got, it just happens. I gotta check and see if it's the original. But for right now, I'm just gonna keep playing it so you guys can hear it.
So we are expecting them to come with their best deal. As I said a week ago today, don't retaliate, hold your ground, let's see what happens. And China, they kept escalating, and now they have 125% tariffs that will be effective immediately.
Mr.
Secretary,
Secretary,
thanks so much for doing this. The 90-day pause on the reciprocal tariffs, is that because of the whiplash that we've been seeing across the financial markets? How much was what we saw in the stock markets, a part of this decision?
No, it's because it's going to because of the large number of inbounds, we've had more than 75 countries contact us, and I imagine after today there will be more. So it is just a processing problem. Each one of these solutions is going to be bespoke. It is going to take some time, and President Trump wants to be personally involved. So that's why we're getting the 90-day pause.
Can I ask a clarification on something?
Secretary, there was a tweet that you and Secretary Lookner were in the Oval Office with the President talking about this. Can you talk about what that conversation was like and what you guys said to one another that led to this decision?
Look, it's all the President's decision, and the President had
The audio on the source video is low. Unfortunately, I can't do anything about that. So please just turn your audio up as much as you can on your end. I just got this video from AFP. My guess is maybe they weren't ready because it was all of a sudden. I don't think they have a mic there, so I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do about it. There is audio there. Please just turn your audio up as much as you can.
a level in mind to raise the China tariffs, and then he had the 3 month, essentially the 3-month pause in mind, and we were discussing the exact wording.
Can I ask clarification on other countries, Mr. Secretary?
The president's decision.
Can I ask a clarification from other countries?
To wait until today, and again, as I've said in the past, no one creates leverage for himself like President Trump.
Mr. Secretary, on the pause.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. What does the president want to see by this, I think it's July 9th, deadline to keep things paused? Is it just trade barriers coming down, or is it
Well, these are trade negotiations, but if countries want to come and offer other things, I talked about yesterday that we are thinking about a big LNG project in Alaska that South Korea, Japan, Taiwan are interested in financing and taking a substantial portion of the offtake. But again, in essence, that is trade because it will decrease the trade deficit we have with those countries. So everything's on the table.
Mr. Secretary, a clarification on the on the pause. What happened to those countries who just had the 10% baseline tariffs, like Brazil and others? Are they still going to have this 90 days pause? Because you were saying that there will be a tariff of 10% for others. So what happened to those who just had the 10%?
Yeah, that's going to remain.
That's going to remain. And do you call this an embargo to China?
Pardon?
You call this an embargo to China, a trade embargo?
Well, I'm not sure what you mean by the word embargo.
125% tariffs, like on those, and then they impose 84%. Isn't this an embargo? Some economies are calling this an embargo.
China's decision that we have the deficit with them. They sell us almost 5 times what we sell them. So again, I think it's an own goal by China.
Mr. Secretary, with this, does this signal that you're confident that you're going to be able to strike a satisfactory deal with all these 75 nations that...
It signals that President Trump cares about trade and that we want to negotiate in good faith. And as I said, each one of these is going to be a separate, bespoke negotiation. So we are confident that having seen the other side of where this could go, and it was like I said last week, that the market didn't understand. Those were maximum levels. The countries can think about those levels as they come to us, bring down their tariffs, their non-tariff trade barriers. We're going to discuss currency manipulation, subsidy of labor, and industry.
Mr. Secretary.
Thank you. Will the pause also apply to the sectoral tariffs that the president announced, pharma, lumber, anything else?
No, it's on the
So those will still be coming here soon, right?
Mr.
Does
Secretary,
it
as far
apply
as
to
your
the EU
negotiations
countries?
with the 75 countries,
Mr. Secretary, so I'm going to ask you about what you're doing here. So the market is reacting crazily, right?
I haven't
Do you
seen
think
it.
that this move is going to sort of change or calm down the market reaction? Do you think the markets have changed, right? You know, there's been a lot of volatility in the market, not just in terms of stock markets, but also in terms of bonds. So will this move, in your mind, do you anticipate that this is going to calm the markets down?
Well, I think what we've seen, I think the willingness by more than 75 countries to come and negotiate, I think now the market understands that everything they saw last Wednesday was a ceiling, and now we have a 10% temporary floor, and I think the market, my 35 years in the market, I always wanted certainty, so I think we've got more certainty.
But Mr. Secretary,
What happened to the
Secretary,
EU, Mr. Secretary?
Mr. Secretary, why do people assume this is the last war? The President began this morning saying, be cool, 5 hours later, he announces a new policy. Why will investors in the market assume that this is it?
Because, again, as I said, we've given 90 days, and the only certainty we can provide is that the U.S. is going to negotiate in good faith, and we assume that our allies will too. And in terms of certainty, we will see what China does. But what I'm certain of is that what China is doing will affect their economy much more than it will ours, because they have an export-driven, flood the world with cheap export models, and the rest of the world now understands, because when we put up our tariff wall, those exports were already flowing to the rest of the G7 and to the global south.
And you think
Mr. Secretary, how much of this decision was driven by the bond market cratering overnight? What is happening with bonds? Is China selling their bonds?
Yeah, I have nothing that says that, and we actually had quite a good 10-year auction today, and all this was, again, this was driven by the president's strategy. He and I had a long talk on Sunday, and this was his strategy all along. And that, you might even say that he goaded China into a bad position. They responded. They have shown themselves to the world to be the bad actors.
And then one more
and we are willing to cooperate with our allies and with our trading partners who did not retaliate. It wasn't a hard message. Don't retaliate, things will turn out well.
And then following up on that, sir, there was a Politico article saying that the countries weren't getting calls back.
With these 75 countries, how long will that take? Will it be a matter of weeks? Will it be a matter of months? Do you expect financial markets to be stable during that time period?
Well, we started with a 90-day pause, and we will see if more countries turn up, but what will happen. But we have a meeting with Vietnam today, and we have one of the largest trade deficits with them, so I'm hoping that we'll move in a good direction. I was at the Japanese ambassador's house last night for the Cherry Blossom Festival, which was quite festive, and he and I had a good chat. They are going to send a deal team over, so we'll see. These are complicated negotiations. These are imbalances that have taken decades to create, but I think having seen the maximum level that Donald Trump is willing to go to, President Trump has created this negotiating leverage.
Sir, what about the included in the pause?
The secretary is obviously a very busy man. As he has said, he's had more than 75 countries that the trade team has to respond to. I'd just like to end with this. For decades, Republicans and Democrats have said that these unfair trade practices are ripping off the American people, are ripping off our country, but nobody has ever done anything to address it. We finally have a president here at the White House who is playing the long game, who is doing what is right for the American worker and our industries here at home, and he has put together a fantastic team in Secretary Bessent, Secretary Lustnick, the entire trade team who will be focusing on negotiating these good deals to put the American workers first, and we're going to get to work to do that.
What about the EU? What about the EU? They retaliated this morning. Why aren't they being treated like China?
All right, so that was Treasury Secretary Levitt, Treasury Secretary Bessent, and Press Secretary Levitt. And again, as it said on the screen, the volume on the source was low. So I cannot control the volume of the actual video itself. So I boosted the volume up as much as I could. I'm sorry it wasn't louder, but that was an impromptu press conference thing. So maybe they'll post a different version of that video with higher volume, but that's what it was. What I want to do is, first of all, get rid of this. Okay, there's the current. By the way, I'm still confused about what exactly the pause is. So I was reading, there were some questions asked about it. So I'm trying to confirm exactly what's going on. According to what President Trump wrote, it sounded to me like he was saying the 10% baseline on all countries is paused. The reciprocal tariffs, which is above 10%, gets reduced to 10%. And China's tariffs go up to 125% from 104%. But that's just based on what he said. Now, maybe this actual policy is going to be different than that. I'll show you the yes, so I mean, even the New York Times had said a little while ago, it wasn't clear if the New York Times said it wasn't clear if countries that had the reciprocal tariffs on them would now have 20% because 10% reciprocal plus 10% baseline or no 10% baseline. Anyways, I'll show you what President Trump said again. Maybe we'll get some kind of official document from the White House clarifying this. But in terms of what President Trump actually said, this is what he wrote. So the part about the pause is down here. He said, I have authorized a 90-day pause and a substantially lowered reciprocal tariff during this period of 10%, also effective immediately. So when he says, I've authorized a 90-day pause, well, to me, that only makes sense if he's saying, I'm pausing the 10% baseline tariff and I'm lowering the reciprocal tariffs, which is something different, which is what went into effect at 12:01 a.m. He's saying I'm lowering that to 10%. So as I read this, as it reads, it seems to suggest that if you only had a 10% tariff, now you'll have nothing for 90 days. And if you had, say, 40%, now you'll have 10% for 90 days. Now, maybe that won't be the actual policy. That's what it says to me, just based on the language he wrote. So, but maybe they'll come out with something today. And I have to go back and listen to what was said. I was trying during that press briefing there, that impromptu press briefing, I was really focused on the volume and stuff like that and the graphics and everything. So there might have been something said about that there, but I wouldn't hold that as being definitely true either. So we'll wait for some clarification there. But you know, he did announce a 90-day pause and a 90-day reduction, and he said that the China tariff is going up to 125% from 104%. He says, based on the lack of respect that China has shown to the world's markets, I am hereby raising the tariff charged to China by the U.S. to 125%. It was 104% this morning. Effective immediately. At some point, hopefully in the near future, China will realize that the days of ripping off the USA and other countries is no longer sustainable or acceptable. Conversely, and based on the fact that more than 75 countries have called representatives of the United States, including the Departments of Commerce, Treasury, and the USTR, to negotiate a solution to the subjects being discussed relative to trade barriers, tariffs, currency manipulation, and non-monetary tariffs, and that these countries have not, at my strong suggestion, retaliated in any way, shape, or form against the United States, I have authorized a 90-day pause and a substantially lowered reciprocal tariff during this period of 10%, also effective immediately. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Okay. By the way, I remembered this. I had seen this before and I forgot about this. Catherine Watson posted and reminded me. Trump posted at 8:37 a.m. He posted, "This is a great time to buy." That was about 4 hours before he announced the pause. Now, I don't know if he posted that because he knew he was going to do the pause or not. But he did post that on his True Social. This is a great time to buy at 8:37 a.m. Let me get back to this. So the Dow is up 7.35%. S&P 500 up 7.7%. NASDAQ up 9.67%. Russell 2000 up 9.23%. Hey, let me do a quick thanks. We kind of rushed on the air, so I didn't have time to thank everybody. First of all, thanks to our moderators for being with us. Beth Mythical, Ruth Krafasi, Janet B. Thank you so much. Moderators, they're on there over there on YouTube. Thank you to our, hang on a moment here. Thank you to our moderators on Twitch. We have moderating over on Twitch. Big Ball of Yarn, David Green, Good Luck Duck. I got that fired. Matthew Kohai 3. Hold on. Sarah, Papa Bear, and Surly Dev. Thank you. One moment, please. Thanks to our Facebook moderators and our X moderators. Over there on X, we have modding Linda Belk, Larry Misha, and I want to thank our Facebook moderators. We have Kay Lowry Body is moderating over there. Thanks, Kay. Also, sorry, I'm going through Margaret Riley. Thank you, Margaret. And give me one moment. What was I going to do? Oh, a quick thank you also to, one moment here, Van Dan, that is so generous of you. Van Dan says, I'm a big Trump supporter, but even I'm a little unsure after this. I got my new tie today, going to celebrate with a few gift memberships. Hey, thank you, Van Dan. That's really kind of you and generous. Thanks for all your support, Van Dan. Really appreciate it. Also, thanks to our member, hold on a second here. I'm going to make this a little bigger here. Thanks to, hang on, get this on the screen here. DC Primetime, thanks for your support. Bebop and Rocksteady. Bebop and Rocksteady points out that billionaire hedge fund manager Bill Ackman posted, "This was brilliantly executed by Trump. Textbook art of the deal." That's what Bill Ackman said. Hey, thanks, Bebop and Rocksteady. Thanks, Clay Stalka, Clay Stalka, remember? Hey, Van Dan just gave 50 people memberships. Wow. That's really generous of you. Make sure you thank Van Dan or anybody else if they give you a gift membership or a gift sub. Thank you, Van Dan. That's really kind of you. Thank you also, Punch Gut, for the gift memberships. I really appreciate that, Punch Gut. Thank you, DC Primetime, who says door in the face technique, sales technique. Thank you, Kelly C., our member. Thank you also, again, Bebop and Rocksteady. You interpreted that post a different way than I did. So I got to get some clarification on what's going on. Maybe we'll get an official document from the White House just clarifying everything. There's still a little confusion over it. Thank you, Angel Mendez, NCR Ranger, for your support, who says EU retaliated for it, but no response. Well, had the EU actually put on any retaliation tariffs? I don't know if anything had been implemented by the EU yet. I'm not sure. I don't remember. But I'm not sure that they'd actually implemented any retaliation tariffs yet. Thank you, Joey C., who says this was always about China. Thank you, Joey C. Thank you, Joe, who said, I made $1,000 in calls on QQQ from this. Have two on me. That's what our viewer Joe said. Thank you, Dodger Blue, who says, I am sick of this blatant market manipulation. My neck hurts from all this whiplash. Pause on tariffs except for the one that matters most. Thank you, Dodger Blue. Thank you, Sheep Animations, who says Trump's new book, Art of the Fold. China, by the way, announced earlier today it was raising its tariffs on the U.S. by 50% more as a retaliation for Trump doing that a couple days ago, raising his tariffs on China by 50%. Thank you also, Minty Cactus, for being a member. All right, hold on. I was behind on my thank yous, so I'm just doing a couple thank yous now quickly. And also thanks to Douthis for gifting a sub on Twitch. Thanks Oswaldo Mowbray Fernris on Twitch for your support, and Flumpingtons and Dark Crypto. And Ash P10, thanks for subscribing, and Flumpington, thanks for subscribing. All right, let me try to get you an update on things here. Hang on a moment. Chuck Schumer just spoke. Maybe we'll take a look at what he said. Oh, is Trump doing his appearance? President Trump is doing an appearance. Hold on a moment. A photo op with racing champions. Hang on. There's so much going on. Let me get this on the screen for you. Hang on a moment here. Hold on. I got to get it on the screen for you. It's about to be a photo op with President Trump. Maybe he'll talk about the tariff pause and reduction. Give me a moment. I'm pulling it on the screen for you right now. I'm telling you. I can see it. Give me a second. Hold on. Where is it here? Okay, here it is. I'm putting it on the screen for you. Well, give me a second. I'll put it on the screen for you. This is here. Okay, I think this might work. Look, there it is. That is the White House. There is going to be Donald Trump participates in a photo opportunity with racing champions. That is the White House. I need to put the ticker on the screen, and I need to put the graphic on the screen. So let me do that real quick. There's a lot going on right now. Well, that's should say live the White House. Okay, that one's up there, and then I need the ticker on the screen. Okay, we got that up there. And you know what? I want to make sure of something. You are looking at a live shot of the White House. I may need to do something here. If there was a little bit of an audio issue before, and I'm not sure why. Let me do one thing real quick here. Give me 1 second. I want to do a quick test and make sure on the audio that, well, I'm not going to worry about it right now. I might have to fix the audio while it's happening. All right, so we are waiting for President Trump to do this appearance right now. You're looking at a live shot from the White House. And we're going to bring you more updates. The sound just cut out on the video. That's not my fault. That's the video. I think they turned off the sound. Let me make sure. There's one way I can make sure.
Negotiation and deals.
Again, I would.
Yeah, that. By the way, I was just playing a recording of something. But that is, yeah, I think they just turned off the sound in the video for the time being. Hang on a moment. There's the sound. What is going on with that? What is going on with this? Are they having an issue there? Are they having an issue? Just give me 1 sec, guys. There's something I got to do real quick. Reuters says Wall Street leaps after Trump announces 90-day tariff pause. See that? Wall Street's main indexes jumped on today after President Trump authorized a 90-day pause on tariffs effective immediately. Trump declared a 90-day pause on many of his new tariffs that he had unveiled initially last week, and at 12:01 a.m. today, some of them came into effect, while raising duties on China to 125%. Large technology stocks led gains, with Apple rising 10% and Nvidia up 13%. They might be different than that right this second. I would have to check. And right now it is Dow is up 6%, a little over 6%, S&P up 7.7%, NASDAQ up almost 10%, Russell 2000 up 9.23%. And we're waiting for President Trump to do an appearance any time now. Oh, what is going on with this? Why is that like this? Give me a moment here. There we go. go. And then Reuters also said, well, that's short. Oil prices up after Trump declares pause on most tariffs but higher tariff on China. Reuters says oil prices climbed today, bouncing back from four-year lows earlier in the session after President Trump announced he would further increase tariffs on China but paused the tariff increases he announced last week for most other countries. Trump announced a 90-day pause, but also raised the tariff for China to 125%. Oil prices had been dropping because of the thought that a tariff war would reduce demand. Again, President Trump is supposed to do, a photo op any moment now. Which is why I'm showing you this race car. Hold on one moment here. You're going to see me for a second. Bloomberg is saying the question is what happened to lead to this? Hey, by the way, remember a couple days ago, Bloomberg pointed this out. Remember a couple days ago, it was Monday, when this report started being spread around the internet based on, it looked like an incorrect, so there was a CNBC interview where, who was it? Was it Peter Navarro? It was one of the administration, was asked on CNBC, are you considering a 90-day pause in tariffs? And I didn't, from what I saw, I have not seen anything suggesting that the person said yes. But this report started going around the internet that that someone had said yes about that, and that the Trump administration was considering that. Then stocks went way up, and then the White House denied it, and they said no, that's not true. And then the stocks went back down again. But it's interesting. I don't know what caused the person. No, there was a Fox Business interview. I think it was a Fox Business interview, not a CNBC interview. Anyways. I don't know what caused that question from the initial question to be asked. So had that person from like Fox Business, I think it was, heard something about this? But it ended up being a 90-day pause after all that. Chuck Schumer, the Senate Minority Leader, posted, here's what Chuck Schumer said about this on X. He said, Trump retreats on tariffs because of Trump's slump. We're waiting for President Trump to come out. Okay, so I guess Scott Bessent said everybody who hasn't retaliated goes down to the 10% universal baseline tariff. Right. But from what Trump originally said in the Post, it seemed like he was saying the baseline was paused for everybody else. Now, maybe that's not true. I don't know. I'm just going off of what he wrote. There's some confusion over exactly the terms of this pause. I wonder, he very well, I wouldn't be surprised if Trump takes questions at this appearance that's supposed to happen any moment now. Our viewer, Cuts by Lisa, says, sure, he says giving a 90-day pause, but what has been said and done to us Canadians cannot be undone. Trump had to run his mouth and say we would not survive without the USA. Also, was it just yesterday? Asen posted a clip of this. We covered the press briefing yesterday. I think it was yesterday that the press secretary said that Trump was not considering an extension or a delay. Well, I guess maybe technically that's not a pause. So I guess, she didn't say anything incorrect. This was not an extension or a delay, but it is a pause. So I don't know when this decision was made, if it was sudden. I can't tell you anything about that. One of our viewers thinks a pause is a delay. Again, we're waiting for this appearance by Trump. Oh, one moment here, one moment. I just saw something else. Oh, thank you, by the way, to Kristen Gates for your support. I really appreciate it, Kristen. Thank you. You know what's interesting? I'll mention that later. I don't want to mention it right now. Oh, I have some quotes here. From the White House pool, they gave some quotes from Bessent and Carolyn Levitt. So, here are some quotes from the appearance of Bessent and Carolyn Levitt. Treasury Secretary Bessent said, the successful negotiating strategy that President Trump implemented a week ago today has brought more than 75 countries forward to negotiate. It took great courage for him to stay the course until this moment, and it ended up here. As I told everyone a week ago in this very spot, do not retaliate and you will be rewarded. So every country in the world wants to come and negotiate. We are willing to hear you. We're going to go down to a 10% baseline tariff we have for them, and China will be raised to 125. Will Canada and Mexico be included in the pause to reduction to 10%? Yes, he said. There are cars, by the way, from NASCAR, IndyCar, and IMSA here. We are waiting for President Trump. Oh, there's people by the White House. I may end up having to... Let me do something here real quick to prepare for this. So the camera is focused on the White House. We're waiting for President Trump to come out. There's President Trump right there. I just saw him come out. Okay. President Trump is walking over right now. He is walking over right now. We can see him. Let's see what he has to say. Here he is. He's coming over for this appearance with these racing cars and racing champions. Will he talk about the tariffs? Here he comes. This is live. If the audio-video sync is off, I will try something to fix it. So I might need a sec to do that, if that happens. I'll do my best. But at least we have the live video. Move this down.
Hello, everybody. Oh, look who we have.
Afternoon.
Roger. Hello, everybody.
Good to see you, sir.
Mr. President, great to see you. Nice to see you.
I do know Roger.
Man.
Good to see you again for last night.
Nice work last night. That was great last night.
Also, you had the sausages there. That was great.
Yeah, oh, the sausages, boy. They really,
Yes, I did.
they were fantastic.
You were terrific. Doesn't matter.
Thank you.
You got the market seeing your brilliance.
Yeah, that's up almost 7 points. 2,500.
This isn't the appearance. This is like the camera on him before the appearance. The volume's a little low, but he's not doing the official appearance. This is like before the appearance.
Yes, sir. Smart.
The key is we gotta get the tax.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Get that tax deal done. Hello, everybody.
Here we go.
How are you? These are nice cars. Rolling car here.
And of course, Ryan.
Is this the car? This is
Yep. This is the car. Yep. And Ryan from last year,
Yeah.
23. So.
Pretty amazing job he's done. Pretty amazing.
And this is the team behind him here.
Fantastic.
Great. Mr. President, thanks for having us. Thanks for having us.
Congratulations. Thank you. We had to do it. Somebody had to do it, right? Well, thank you very much, everybody. We have a very special day for a lot of reasons, actually, if you really think about it. But this is a day because Roger Penske is a great friend of mine. I've known him a long time. He received a few years ago the Presidential Medal of Freedom award in the country outside of the Congressional Medal of Honor. It's sort of the civilian version of the Congressional Medal of Honor.
Hang on.
18th Indianapolis 500. And now, I just said did you win 19? He said, well, actually, we won 20. He won 2 more since then. So that was like 5 years ago, and he won 2 more since then. And just well-deserving. If you look, Japan, the countries, they spend billions of dollars trying to win Indy, and sometimes, but not much. But he's done it. You know, something too, by the way. He knows a lot about trucks, but he's been a very special guy, and he's brought some of our outstanding racing champions with tremendous courage and guts and grit. Hello, fellas. I didn't see you guys over there. That's a good-looking couple of too. They have a lot of courage. And we'll see back in 2023, 2020. And Logano, that's really fantastic.
Let me see if I can fix this. Sorry, I know it's a pause.
How fast do you get that car going?
See if I can fix it.
Example, on average, how fast will you
About 190.
About 190. I don't want to go 190. That's fantastic. And on a straightaway, you'll go how much?
About 190, 200.
About 190 to 200. Well, it takes a special genetic. You know that, right? It's genes. Not only it's genes, really. Most people couldn't do that. Very few people could do it. The 2023 and 2024 Indianapolis Newgarden. Hey, Joseph. And the 2025 champions of the 24-hour Felipe Nasser, Nick Tandy, and Lawrence Ventura. Thank you, sir. So, this is just a celebration of racing, and it's a celebration of Roger and his great success and his life, and these incredible champions who really do what very few people could do. Mentally, psychologically, it's a big factor here, like it is in all sports, really, but you need a great physical ability. People that do this, they don't realize what great athletes they are. It's just not the car. I had a friend, he's a very successful guy, but he was a driver, and started off, he wanted to be a race car driver. He wanted to be like you. He wanted to be just like Joey Logano. and he had it for business, but he didn't have it he said, I just couldn't compete with the good drivers. He couldn't do it, no matter what he did. And he got lucky. He went into business and made a lot of money. He was very successful. But he said, I couldn't press the accelerator down all the way, and the best drivers could. So there was just a difference. It was really, I never got that story. But these are great champions, and it's a great sport. And what you've done in Indianapolis also with the track and everything has been incredible. I mean, it's really incredible. People tell me it's been tough to get down here with you. But well, thank you very much. Thank you. We did Daytona. We went around the track in the Beast, what's called the Beast, with the thick windows and the whole thing, and you're not supposed to hear anything, but I heard the fans, they were going crazy outside, so it was a great honor. So I just wanted to welcome them to the White House, a special place, very, very special place, and we love champions, and these are the greatest champions in the world. These are the greatest champions in racing, and it's an honor to have you all. And thank you very much, all of you. Thank you very much. I wouldn't ride in that thing if you paid me. How fast will that go?
240 plus.
240.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Weapon.
Two-time winner of the Indianapolis 500, consecutively, right?
Yes, sir.
So what the hell are you doing? What do you eat?
A lot of milk. Drinking a lot of milk, hopefully.
Okay, I'm going to take some. And that one is pure speed and endurance, right?
Correct, sir.
Speed and endurance. Is that car a very different car than, let's say, this one? Very different?
Very different.
Very different.
Yeah.
Made for...
You got to last so many hours.
Right.
And we all share the car, so three drivers.
Totally different engine.
Engine.
Everything's different.
Everything.
And you'll go, is it 24 hours?
Yeah.
That's a long time. And that car just, there's no let up, it's just constant, right? That's fantastic. Congratulations. That's endurance. Endurance is a big factor in life and success, I can tell you. So you guys have it. Well, thank you very much. Would you like to ask Roger or any of these champions any questions while we're here? Yeah.
You started the morning saying be cool, and then just a few hours later, there was a pause put in on the tariffs. Can you walk us through your thinking about why you decided to put a 90-day pause?
Well, I thought that people were jumping a little bit out of line. They were getting yippy, you know. They were getting a little bit yippy, a little bit afraid, unlike these champions, because we have a big job to do. No other president would have done what I did. No other president. I know the presidents, they wouldn't have done it. And it had to be done. What was happening to us on trade, not only with, you know, if you look at it, not only with China, but China was by far the biggest abuser in history, and others also, but somebody had to do it. They had to stop because it was not sustainable. Last year, China made $1 trillion off trade with the United States. That's not right. And now I've reversed it. It's for a short period of time, but we made $2 billion. We're making now $2 billion a day. And somebody had to do it. Roger actually said it. Charles Schwab was here a little while ago, one of the great financial people, and he said he's been waiting for 40 years for somebody to do what I did over the last month. And if you didn't do it, you wouldn't have a country. It wouldn't be sustainable. So I'm honored to have done it. And, you know, look, nothing's over yet, but we have a tremendous amount of spirit from other countries, including China. China wants to make a deal. They just don't know how quite to go about it. You know, it's one of those things they don't know how quite. They're proud people. And President Xi's a proud man. I know him very well. And they don't know quite how to go about it, but they'll figure it out. They're in the process of figuring it out, but they want to make a deal. And we have many other countries, as you know, many more than 75, and they all want to come. And they want to come here, or they'll go to Commerce, or they'll go to Treasury. We have our great senators here and congressmen. They'll call John. They'll do somebody. They'll go through somebody, but they're all calling. How do we do this? They all want to make a deal. Somebody had to do what we did, and I did a 90-day pause for the people that didn't retaliate, because I told them if you retaliate, we're going to double it. And that's what I did with China, because they did retaliate. So we'll see how it all works out. I think it's going to work out amazing. I think that our country is going to be at the end of a year or shorter, but I think we're going to have something that nobody would have dreamt possible. A man like Roger Penske, I don't want to get him in trouble with China, so I won't, but he would know that you have to, someday you have to cut the bow and you have to do what you have to do, right, Roger? And that's what I did, and I'm very happy to have done it.
Mr. President, the Prime Minister of Greece just told Breitbart's Matt Boyle that he thinks absolutely the European Union and the United States could work out a trade deal that's win-win and, quote, mutually beneficial to both sides. What do you think about the Prime Minister's comments, and do you think a deal could be struck with the European Union?
First of all, I know him. He's a good man, and I appreciate his comments. Yeah, a deal could be made with every one of them. A deal's going to be made with China. A deal's going to be made with every one of them. And there'll be fair deals. I just want fair. They will be fair deals for everybody. But they weren't fair to the United States. They were sucking us dry, and you can't do that. You know, we have $36 trillion of debt for a reason. We don't have it there for fun. They have it for a reason. And people took advantage of our country, and they ripped us off for decades. I've been thinking about this for decades. If you ever saw me on television, I was young like these guys. And it was the good old days, I'll tell you, Roger. But I was like these guys, young, and I was talking about it. Nothing changed, and nothing was done about it. Then I did it. In my first term, I did it, and did it well. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China and others, and I started the process, but then we had to fix up from the COVID mess caused by China. We had to fix up from that, and we did a good job of doing it. And when we handed back the reins after a rigged election, and when we handed back the reins, the stock market was higher than it was before COVID coming in. So, you know, we did a great job, but we didn't have time to do the big thing, which we're doing now. And it's, you know, it's like a patient is sick. You have to do surgery. Patient is very, very sick. And Joe Biden handed us over a country that was in very serious trouble, economically and in every other way. They let China run away with things. They let other countries run away with things. And maybe worst of all, in a certain way, is what they did at the border. We had people pouring into our country by the millions Many of them were murderers and drug lords and thieves and people from prisons from all over the world. And there were people from mental institutions, insane asylums. They were taking their mentally insane and they were dumping them into our country. And I'll tell you, Tom Homan and Kristi Noem are doing a fantastic job in removing them. And now the courts, the Supreme Court just gave us numerous good rulings where we have to be able to get them out. You had other judges trying to take over the system. And think of it, they take over, they want these people coming back, Tren de Aragua from Venezuela, the Venezuela jails that cut off the fingers of a man in Colorado. They cut off his fingers because he called the police looking for help. They said, "Did you call the police?" He said, "Yes, I did." "Put your hand down," and they cut off the fingers. This is what they want to bring these people back now. And I want to thank the president of El Salvador for the job he's done, because that's the way it has to be done. It's too bad. Yeah, please.
Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, they've been talking about tariffs for decades. How come when these Democrat elites want tariffs, everything's hunky-dory, but when President Trump wants tariffs, all hell breaks loose? Do you see this double standard?
I love this guy, whoever the hell that is. That's really nice. I appreciate that question. No, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, everybody knew you had to do it, but they never had the guts to do it. It does take guts. It even takes guts for our country to go through it. That's why I say be cool. They were saying about, I said, just be cool. It's going to work out. It's going to work out, and it's working out. I can tell you, working out maybe faster than I thought. But I said it's going to take a little conditioning. It's a transition to. It's really, I think it's a transition to greatness. It's going to be greatness. Our country is going to be. There'll be nothing like it, and people investing in our country, they're going to do better than they've ever done before. We have more car manufacturers, Roger, coming into our country now. Speaking of cars. We've never seen anything like it. And they're coming in because of the election, but they're coming in because of the tariffs, because they don't want to pay 25 or 50 or whatever it may be. They don't want to pay that. They can't pay that. We had 3 cancellations in Mexico, building a plant. They're all coming into the United States. Canada, they're coming in. From China, they're coming in from everywhere. And that's just cars. We have chip makers coming. We're the biggest chip maker in the world from Taiwan, coming in, spending $3 billion to build plants, and mostly a big plant. This is a hell of a plant when you spend the kind of money that they're going to go $200 to $300 billion, not million. You know, you'd say million would be the right number. It's not $200 to $300 billion. Think of that, $300 billion. If you look at Apple is going to spend $500 billion building a plant. They wouldn't be doing that if I didn't do this. They'd just keep building them in China. And that's unsustainable. It's not a pleasant thing to do, but I appreciate the question. And, you know, interestingly, Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, Crazy Nancy, they've wanted to do this for years, but they never had a president that had the guts to do it, because it does take guts, believe me.
Was it the bond markets that persuaded you to reverse course?
I was watching the bond market. The bond market is very tricky. I was watching it, but if you look at it now, it's beautiful. The bond market right now is beautiful. But yeah, I saw last night where people were getting a little queasy. I think everything had. Well, the big move wasn't what I did today. The big move was what I did on Liberation Day. We had Liberation Day in America. We're liberated from all of the horrible deals that were made, all of the horrible trade deals that were made. And I was helped by people just like this, Senator, Congressman, right? And we had great help in the Senate. Amazing. Republican senators have been amazing. They stood tall. And likewise in the House. And John Thune has done an amazing job. Barrasso has done an amazing job. I mean, I can't think of a senator, really. We had tremendous support. We got a bill passed the other day with almost unanimous support in the Senate, and I think we're going to get that in the House, too. And I have to tell you that Mike Johnson is a great speaker. He's done a fantastic job. We had a majority of 1, now we have a majority of 7. And you don't realize how big 7 is until you have a majority of 1. 7 sounds like so much. But we're doing well. But Mike Johnson and John Thune have done a really great job.
Mr. President, was there anyone who influenced your decision? Did you speak with anyone, you know, Jamie Dimon? Did you speak with anyone?
Well, I watched
about...
Jamie Dimon on Maria Bartiromo's show this morning, and he was very good. He said that actually made the statement to effect that something had to be done with the tariffs and trade. He said that. He said, look, you know, at some point, but he said something has to be done with tariffs and trade. He understood it. He's very smart, very a genius financially. He's done a fantastic job at the bank, and he knows that. Everybody knows that. Anybody that's even a little bit smart knows it. It wasn't sustainable what was happening. Somebody had to pull the trigger. I was willing to pull the trigger. This should have been done long ago. Just like Biden should have stopped the border long ago. I mean, allowed 21 million people plus into our country, many of whom should never have been allowed out of prisons and jails. They came out of prisons and jails from all over the world, and now we're getting them out, bringing them back to their countries. But it's should have never been done. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Sir, would you consider exempting some U.S. companies, maybe some larger companies who have been hit hard in the markets the last few days during this 90 days?
As time goes by, we're going to take a look at it. There are some that have been hard. There are some that, by the nature of the company, get hit a little bit harder, and we'll take a look at that, yeah. Just instinctively, more than anything else. I mean, you almost can't take a pencil to paper. It's really more of an instinct, I think, than anything else.
What's your credibility like? Because you said that these tariffs would go into effect on Monday. You said no pause. And today there is a pause. So how can people believe your words today?
It's not a question of that. You have to have flexibility. I could say, here's a wall, and I'm going to go through that wall. I'm going to go through it no matter what, and keep going, and you can't go through the wall. Sometimes you have to be able to go under the wall, around the wall, or over the wall. These guys know that better than anybody, right? You got to go around them sometimes. You're not going to go through them. So I consider, you know, I think in financial markets, because they change. Look how much it changed today. We went from, you know, pretty moderate today, but over the last few days it looked pretty glum, to, I guess they say it was the biggest day in financial history. That's a pretty big change. And I think the word would be flexible. You have to be flexible. Like he's asking the question about some companies. Some companies, through no fault of their own, they happen to be in an industry that is more affected by these things than others. You have to be able to show a little flexibility. And I'm able to do that. I'm going to say hello to these champions because they are great champions. I got to say hello.
To avoid more escalation.
I love that tire. That's great. Thank you, Mr. President. So if you guys want to take your polls down, yes. We took it.
We're watching, I don't know if he's going to speak anymore, we'll see. Watching President Trump live at the White House.
Thank you, President. Thank you, Press.
I think that's the end of the appearance thing. All right. Okay,
So we're going to
hang
do
on a moment. Hold on. One moment. Okay, let's get off of that now. All right, hang on, folks. One moment, please. All right, let me just get the ticker back up for you, full screen. I'm confusing myself here with what I'm doing. We need to go. Let's do it this way. Let's do it this way. No, let's do it this way. All right, we'll get rid of this. All right, hang on. That's going to say AFTV live first. Fine. Get this back on. No, we don't want that. We want that. Okay. There. Okay, we got that fixed. Now let me just get one more thing fixed. That's wrong, obviously, but that's right. Okay. One last thing I have to do is I have to do this. There. Okay, we are covering here. We just heard President Trump speak. Sorry, there was a little bit of a technical difficulty, but I got it fixed for you. We just heard President Trump talk about the tariffs live. Again, he has announced this major 90-day pause. It's still, to me, a bit confusing, and I'm seeing some confusion about some of the specifics. But he said it's a 90-day pause. It's definitely true that all of the tariffs that were above 10% have been reduced to 10%. I'm not sure if some of the countries that were originally at 10% now have zero tariffs. It sounds like maybe, even though this is kind of against what he wrote, didn't really suggest this, but it sounds like maybe it's just 10% for everybody now. But anything above 10% is now down to 10%. If not, and I don't know if any of the 10% countries went to zero. The only country that's different is China, where instead of 104% on China, it's 125% on China. This was announced at shortly after noon today, 12 hours after the reciprocal tariffs went into effect. I know there's still some confusion about the Canada situation, because a reporter from Canada I saw just posted about that, saying that there was confusion over, is Canada now at 10% or not? So there's some confusion over that. She said they were waiting for an official document. So I have not seen an official document yet. Maybe that's being written up right now. So as soon as I see that, I'll let you know. So I want to take some comments from you guys on this. And let me just check here. Is there another Trump appearance today? Sorry, there's a lot going on. I'm still in Lima, Peru, by the way, which makes things even more confusing. So thanks for bearing with me. Yeah, you know, President Trump, I think, wasn't he going to sign, I don't know if it's going to be televised. He was going to sign some executive orders today, I think. I'll keep an eye on that. Also, the Dow is now up 7.25%. Russell 2000 up 9.23%. NASDAQ up almost 10%. Oh, actually, has this been updated yet? No. Check that. NASDAQ is up over 11%. NASDAQ is up over 11%. The Russell 2000 is up 7.41%. S&P 500 all up almost 9%. Some of our viewers in the chat have been saying this is market manipulation. Hey, a quick thanks. I owe a couple thank yous here too, sorry. Let me thank PZ Papa Zulu for your support. PZ Papa Zulu thinks President Trump is playing multi-dimensional chess while everyone else plays checkers. Thank you, PZ Papa Zulu. Thank you, Peter DeCoste. Thank you, Peter from Australia. Thank you, Channeling Gary, who says Republicans control both chambers of the Congress and the White House. Watch the next budget, and we will see if they really care about the national debt. Thank you, Ruth Krafasi, for one of our moderators, for your support. Thank you also so much to TK. Thank you, TK. I really appreciate that. Very kind of you. Thanks also to Michael Kelly. Thank you, Michael Kelly. And One Way Street, who I think is a Joey Logano fan, if I have that right. And Rafael Oliveira. who says there hasn't been any CBP notice that the tariff is 125%. Well, it was 84% new tariffs on top of the existing 20% tariffs. That's how you get the 104. But President Trump announced that it's 21% in addition, although maybe some official notice. I haven't seen any official documentation of this yet, so I'm guessing those documents will be released. Thank you also, Channeling Gary. Channeling Gary says, this isn't about companies coming back to the U.S. or other countries ripping us off for fentanyl. Channeling Gary thinks this was about market manipulation, period. Thank you, Neo Nico, for your support. Oh yeah, One Way Street says he likes Joey Logano. And thank you, Tim Glenn, for your support. Thank you, Tim. All right. And thank you, Crazy Yoda. That's really generous of you, Crazy Yoda, who says this super chat brought to you by a surging stock market. Okay, now, give me a moment. There's a lot going on. Let me get you some updates here. Doing the best I can. What I would love is some kind of official document explaining clearly everything that's happened and clarifying what exactly the pause involves. Exactly. Update. Manu Raju with CNN reports that Democratic Senator Adam Schiff said he is going to be asking the White House to find out who knew about this most recent change in tariff policy, because we want to find out whether people are insider trading on the basis of knowledge about this move or that move on tariffs. Remember that President Trump posted on his Truth Social at, what time was this? It was 8:37 a.m. This is a great time to buy DJT. I don't know if he was referring to the upcoming pause then. I have no idea. And then about 3.5 hours, 3 hours and 45 minutes later, he posted about the tariff pause at 12:18 p.m. saying, I have authorized a 90-day pause and a substantially lowered reciprocal tariff during this period of 10%, also effective immediately. I thought this meant he was taking off the baseline 10% and lowering the reciprocal tariff countries to 10%. But maybe it just means that everybody's at 10% now. I don't know for sure. Again, I don't know when he knew he was doing this. I don't know if other people knew. I have no idea. He also said around the same time as this is a great time to buy, he also posted, be cool. Everything is going to work out well. The USA will be bigger and better than ever before. That was posted at 8:33 a.m. And this is a great time to buy was posted at 8:37 a.m. Half an hour left in the trading day. Well, official markets, regular opening hours. And just to update you, NASDAQ is up over 11%, Russell 2000 up around 8%, S&P 500 up around 9%. Thank you also, Benny Hill, for your support. Benny Hill says he is playing the game, not sure which throne he wants to be king of yet, though. The Mad King, perhaps? Thank you also to Maria Madrigal for your support. Very nice of you. She says, a reason to pause for 90 days to catch up on the legalities, negotiating trade deals with countries. I'll read you what he said. Thank you, Matt, by the way. I appreciate it, Matt, for your support. I'll read you again what he wrote about it. I kind of would like to show you some of what he said in that appearance again, too. But just to go over, this is what he said. Based on the lack of respect that China has shown to the world's markets, I am hereby raising the tariff charge to China by the United States to 125% effective immediately. At some point, hopefully in the near future, China will realize that the days of ripping off the USA and other countries is no longer sustainable or acceptable. Conversely, and based on the fact that more than 75 countries have called representatives of the United States, including the Department of Commerce, Treasury, and the USTR to negotiate a solution to the subjects being discussed relative to trade barriers, tariffs, currency manipulation, and non-monetary tariffs, that these countries have not, at my strong suggestion, retaliated in any way, shape, or form against the U.S., I have authorized a 90-day pause and a substantially lowered reciprocal tariff during this period of 10%, also effective immediately. Thank you for your attention to this matter. That came just about 12 hours after the reciprocal tariffs went into effect. As Trip Gabriel just mentioned, a couple days ago, President Trump said, "Don't be a panickin." I remember that. When was that post? I'd have to find it. But that was in the last few days. There's a lot of posts on his timeline. It might take me too long to find this. Oh, here it is. Here's "Don't be a panickin." I found it. He said 2 days ago, the U.S. has a chance to do something that should have been done decades ago. Don't be weak. Don't be stupid. Don't be a panickin. A new party based on weak and stupid people. Be strong, courageous, and patient, and greatness will be the result. What I'm going to do, I would love to play you. Hold on a second here. Give me a second here. What I'll do, it might take a few minutes. I'm going to try to get a video of him answering questions about the tariffs so we can watch that and talk about it. I'll get it. It might take a little while. You know what I'll do, actually? Maybe I can do this to speed up the process. Here it is. So when did he actually start talking? Let's see. Hang on one moment here. Okay, so can I do this? No, we have to do it that way. Well, it's downloading. It'll take a little while. I want to take some comments from you guys too. Sorry, it's been so busy here. Let me show you something about what's going on. If I can here. Here. Right here. Oops. Trump pauses tariffs on most nations for 90 days, raises taxes on Chinese imports. Facing a global market meltdown, says AP, President Trump today abruptly backed down on his tariffs on most nations for 90 days, but raised the tax rate on Chinese imports to 125%. It was seemingly an attempt to narrow what had been an unprecedented trade war between the U.S. and most of the world to a showdown between the U.S. and China. AP says the drama over Trump's tariffs will now be prolonged as the administration engages in negotiations that could cause uncertainties to persist in the world economy. Trump told reporters he had pulled back on many global tariffs, but not on China because people were yippy and afraid, adding that while he expected to reach deals, that nothing's over yet. The president said he had been watching the bond market and that people were getting a little queasy. But after his tariff pause, Trump described the bond market as beautiful. AP says it seemed impossible to deny the pressure created by the volatile financial markets that had been pushing Trump to reconsider his tariffs, even as some administration officials said the reversal had always been the plan. The pause was announced after the global economy appeared to be in open rebellion against Trump's tariffs as they took effect Wednesday, a signal that the U.S. president was not immune from market pressures. The 10% tariff that was the baseline rate for most nations that went into effect on Saturday is meaningfully lower than the 20% tariff that Trump had set for goods from the European Union, 24% from Japan, 25% on South Korea. Still, 10% would represent an increase in the tariffs previously charged by the U.S. government. Treasury Secretary Bessent said the negotiations with individual countries would be bespoke, meaning that the next 90 days would involve talks on a flurry of potential deals. Bessent, a former hedge fund manager, told reporters that the pause was because of other countries seeking talks rather than because of brutal sell-offs in the financial markets. The Treasury Secretary said he and Trump had a long talk on Sunday and that this was his strategy all along, and that the president had goaded China into a bad position. Bessent said that Canada and Mexico would now be tariffed at 10%, even though those two countries had been tariffed by as much as 25% by Trump, ostensibly to address fentanyl smuggling and illegal immigration. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt said the walkback was part of Trump's negotiating strategy. Leavitt said the news media clearly failed to see what President Trump is doing here. You tried to say the rest of the world would be moved closer to China when in fact we've seen the opposite effect and the entire world, the entire world is calling the United States of America, not China, because they need our markets. But market pressures had been building for weeks ahead of Trump's move, with the president at times suggesting the import taxes would stay in place, while also saying they could be subject to negotiations. Particularly worrisome was that the U.S. government debt, like long-term bonds, there was a lot of talk about that last night, of bonds, long-term U.S. bonds being sold, and the prices going down and the yields therefore going up. Particularly worrisome was that the U.S. government debt had lost some of its luster with investors who usually treat Treasury notes as a safe haven when there's economic turbulence. Government bond prices had been falling, pushing up the interest rate on 10-year U.S. Treasury notes to 4.45%. That rate eased after Trump's reversal. John Canavan with Oxford Economics said that while Trump said he changed course due to possible negotiations, he had previously indicated the tariffs would stay in place. There have been very mixed messages on whether there would be negotiations, Canavan said. Given what's been going on with the markets, he thinks that Trump realized the safest thing to do was negotiate and put things on pause. The whipsaw-like nature of Wednesday could be seen in the social media posts of Bill Ackman, a hedge fund billionaire and Trump supporter. Our stock market is down, Ackman posted on X. Bond yields are up and the dollar is declining. These are not the markers of successful policy. He had posted, I believe, a short while ago. He repeated his call for a 90-day pause in the post. When Trump embraced that idea several hours later, in a bullion, Ackman posted that Trump had brilliantly executed his plan, and it was textbook art of the deal. By the way, there still appear to be 25% tariffs on auto, steel, and aluminum, with more imports set to be tariffs in the weeks ahead. Last night, Trump said there was going to be a major new tariff on pharmaceuticals. Is that still happening? Here it says, what's not yet known is what Trump does with the rest of his tariff agenda. In a Tuesday night speech, he said taxes on imported drugs would happen soon. Whew, guys. 17 minutes till the markets close in U.S. We'll get that back up there for you. Oops, no, there it is. Dow up over 7%. S&P 500 up over 9%. NASDAQ up 11.68%. Russell 2000 up almost 9%. Quick thanks to Patricia. Sorry, I got to pull this up on the screen here for myself. Patricia Banks. Thank you, Patricia, for your support. And PZ Papa Zulu. And also, thanks to Heavenly Intervention says, I think we have all had enough drama lately. Let's hope for better days ahead. Thank you, Heavenly Intervention. Also, Lee Elmore, who says, Steve, be cool. He's referring to Trump's post this morning. All right, hang on a moment, everyone. In a few minutes, I should have the video available of Trump's remarks outside at the White House today. Maybe we'll look at that again. Thanks also, Barcodable, for your support on Twitch, and Rich Hallquist, and Device X, and Douthis. Thanks for the gift sub, Douthis. Also, Oswaldo Mowbray Fenris, and Flumpingtons, and Dark Crypto, and Ash P10. Also, shout out to our moderators. Thank you, moderators, for being here. We have Bastion Girl, Good Luck Duck, I Got That Fire. Oh, there's two things on the screen right now. We don't need two of them. Bastion Girl, Good Luck Duck, I Got That Fire, Matthew Kohai 3, Sarah and Surly Dev on Twitch. We also have our Facebook moderators, Kay Lowry Body, Margaret Riley. Thanks also Ralph Stallworth and Rita Evans Lang for subscribing on Twitch, on Facebook, I'm sorry. And Gloria Marie. Thank you, Gloria Marie, for being a subscriber. But what's happening now? Hold on, something's happening. Hold on, I'm seeing something on AFP. 1 second here. One moment. One moment here, guys. What am I seeing right now? What is this? Washington. President Trump signs executive orders. We're going to see President Trump live, guys. He's about to sign executive orders. Hold on a moment. Let me get this on the screen for you. I got to get this up on the screen for you. It's so confusing. All right, hang on a moment, and then I'll finish thanking the mods. One moment, please. Where is this? Okay, so what I need to do is put this.
Yeah, I got it.
You should get rid of that. Put this there. Okay, that's the White House. That is the White House. He's going to sign executive orders. Let me just fix this for a second. I need to do it this way too.
Just make sure you're not in front of me, though.
President Trump is going to sign executive orders, and we're going to show it to you.
Like there's a height limit on still photography.
Here we go.
Let me just turn this down a little bit here. I can adjust the audio another way. All right. Sorry, I didn't realize that was happening. I just spotted that. So we're going to watch President Trump sign executive orders very shortly. And maybe he'll answer questions about the tariffs. He very well might. Thank you, Beth Mythical, for being a moderator, and Ruth Krafasi over there on YouTube. Also Linda Belk, Larry, Misha on X. Kay Lowry Body, Margaret Riley over there on Facebook. And a lot of times President Trump will answer questions when he signs executive orders. So we are watching this live. Meanwhile, the Dow is at 7.5% up with 12 minutes left in the trading day. I want to take more comments from you guys. I'm sorry. It's been so busy here. So I'll try to take some more comments shortly. I appreciate everybody being in the chat. I'm also trying to bring you updates at the same time. But you are looking at a live shot from the White House. At some point, they'll just go into the Oval Office. The Dow now up almost 8%. S&P 500 up over 9%. NASDAQ is up over 12%. NASDAQ is up over 12%. Russell 2000 up almost 9% right now, guys. As we wait for President Trump to sign executive orders and maybe take some questions. The Washington Post says, as the Dow goes over 8% now up, the Washington Post says the significant shift in policy by Trump came after the 10-year U.S. Treasury bond sold off heavily earlier in the morning. These bonds are typically seen as a safe haven when markets are unsettled, and the yield rose sharply to more than 4.5% before retreating somewhat. Yields move inversely to prices, meaning investors were quickly selling U.S. bonds. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said this was Trump's strategy all along. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said that Trump's announcement was one of the most extraordinary truth posts of his presidency. This is interesting. The Washington Post says, before Trump's announcement, we were talking about this on the stream overnight when the tariffs came into effect, the reciprocal tariffs. The Post says, before Trump's announcement, the bond market's woes had raised fears that the U.S. may be in the early stages of financial turmoil that could prove difficult for the Federal Reserve or other agencies to resolve. Typically, investors flee to Treasury bonds during market panics because the U.S. government is viewed as among the safest investments in the world. But the rise in yields this time appears to scramble that story, suggesting at least some drop in confidence in the Treasury Department's ability to repay its obligations. Last night, there was a significant drop in the price of those Treasury bonds, rise in the yields. Larry Summers, former Treasury Secretary during the Clinton administration, said, for a country with our scale of deficits and debt, aversion to our government debt, our bonds, is a potentially grave thing. This kind of pattern is quite normal for emerging markets, not for superpowers. We should be very concerned. Something else worth pointing out also is President Trump, and the Washington Post mentioned this, remember, President Trump has said these tariffs are going to make all this money for the U.S. government. Now, if you pause the tariffs, you're not going to have that money coming in that he said was going to come in. The Post said that although the pause could compromise the president's other trade promises, the White House had said the tariffs could raise more than $6 trillion in new revenue to fund tax cuts and other priorities, an impossibility with most of the tariffs being paused or rolled back. Also remember that President Trump had talked about these tariffs staying in place and making companies in other countries build factories over here and do manufacturing over here. But with the tariffs paused, there's not going to be that pressure on other countries' companies to start moving manufacturing over here. That's me talking, but it's another thing, another reason that's been given for the tariffs. We are looking at the White House because President Trump is going to be signing executive orders, and I believe the reporters are waiting to go inside the Oval Office. And I assume he will take some questions. Maybe we'll get one of his impromptu press conferences. We already sort of had one today. Oh, I might even have that video to finish downloading. If we want to, after this, we can watch what he said about the tariffs in the appearance a short while ago. But he might say new things about the tariffs as soon as this event starts. Oh, I see that they're on the move. The press is on the move. Now, the volume is off, I believe, on this. Here, the press is on the move. Look, they're walking to the Oval Office right now. Live. They're going to walk into the Oval Office. They're walking in the Oval Office. Look at this. All right, we're going to hear President Trump. Let's see what happens. Now they're in the Oval Office. There he is. He's going to sign executive orders. Maybe he'll take questions. Wow, look at this. Live from the Oval Office.
You all set? Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We just had a wonderful meeting with the greatest race car drivers in the world and some really spectacular people that won the Indy 500 for the last, for the last 4 years, or last 2 years. And Roger Penske is so incredible. And the Daytona winners and the Daytona 24-hour champions. So it was really great to see them and to see those cars. Those cars are incredible. So there's a lot of winning out there, and we're having a good day in the stock market, as you can see, an all-time record day, and hopefully it continues. I think it should. Our country's stronger than it's ever been, and somebody had to do that with, we had to take the medicine. We had to go through the operation, and that's what we've been through, and a lot of presidents would not have done it. No president would have done it, I think, but it had to be done, and I just want to thank my team, this team here, and lots of others, and Scott and Howard have been incredible, and for energy, there's nobody like this man, and for the roads and highways, boy, you've done well, Sean, so we appreciate it, very much appreciate it, and if we could, well, let's see, we're starting a lot of executive orders, and some ambassadors have been approved, yes, and we're going to start that process right now. We're honored to have Gretchen Whitmer from Michigan, great state of Michigan, and she's really done an excellent job, and a very good person. And we're working on the Selfridge, as you know, the air base. We're trying to get the air base open, keep it open. I think Gretchen, if you're there, and Matt Hall, the Speaker of the House of Michigan, and he's been fantastic as the Speaker. I appreciate it. We won the state, Matt, and
we did.
You helped me a lot.
I did, and you made me Speaker, so thank you, Mr. President.
That's good, too. And Gretchen, I think everybody knows. So we're working on that very hard, and I think we'll come home with a winner for Michigan, okay? I just spoke with the Secretary of Defense. Sometimes we call him the Secretary of War. It used to be called the Secretary of War. They changed it when we became a little bit politically correct. But I think we're in great shape. We're going to be in great shape. So thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much, Matt. Congratulations. Great job. So we'll start with the first orders. And I think we have one for a man named Mike Huckabee. Does anyone know Mike Huckabee?
Yes, sir.
He's going to be a great ambassador to Israel. And they're thrilled to have him, that I can tell you. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. So the Senate confirmed Governor Huckabee to be your next ambassador to Israel earlier today. That's his commission as ambassador. And then we also have a transmittal letter to the President of Israel requesting that he accept Ambassador Huckabee's credentials.
He's going to be fantastic. He's going to bring home the bacon. And even though bacon isn't too big in Israel.
That's just the third letter.
I had to clear that up.
Well said.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations to Mike
Huckabee. Next, sir, this is a big one. As you've consistently identified, restoring our maritime dominance as a nation is very important. From shipbuilding to having a merchant marine that's capable of supporting American military efforts, really up and down the line, restoring maritime dominance has been a priority of this administration. This executive order, which was prepared primarily by your National Security Council staff and National Security Advisor Waltz, has a number of very significant policy steps, all aimed at restoring American maritime dominance and ensuring that we have the shipbuilding capacity and ability to compete globally, both militarily and in the civilian space as well.
And that could be a good one for Michigan, too, because we're going to be spending a lot of money on shipbuilding. We're way, way, way behind. We used to build a ship a day, and now we don't do a ship a year practically, and we have the capacity to do it. So we'll talk to you about that. Okay, Matt? Think about that. That's a natural. Okay, shipbuilding. That's a good one. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. The next executive order relates to defense procurement. Our current defense procurement process has been criticized by many folks on both sides of the aisle as being too slow to adapt to new and changing technologies, not delivering the sorts of weapons and systems that our warfighters need in order to compete on the battlefields of the future. So with this executive order, we're going to be modernizing the procurement structure that the Department of Defense uses to allow it to more quickly adapt to changing circumstances around the world. And we're also going to be launching a review of existing procurement programs to ensure that we're getting value for the money and to ensure that we're getting the best possible systems in the field.
And which are currently horrible. I tell you, they're horrible. That process is ridiculous, what they do. They get the highest price and not even good-looking equipment, and we're changing it. We're going to change it to the best. So this is very, very important. I want to say hello to Brooke. Well, look at Brooke. She got the cost of eggs down 87%. 87%, Governor. We have somebody that's done a great job at Department of Agriculture, and Kristi Noem, who perhaps a few of them have heard of. She has done the most unbelievable job as somebody that's watching over our country at the border, and with Tom Homan and your whole staff of tremendous people. So thank you. Who would think that she is like meant for that job, huh? She's meant for it. So congrats. I just saw you there both. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good. We'll do it later, please.
Thank you, sir. Lastly, in the defense space, one persistent issue that we've had in terms of the issue of foreign defense sales, that we're unable to provide weapon systems in a reliable, effective way to key allies of ours, and a key driver of that is inefficiencies and inconsistencies with the process by which we approve foreign military sales. So this executive order is going to direct your Department of Defense, Department of State, other relevant departments and agencies to rework our system of foreign defense sales to ensure that we can provide equipment, creating American jobs and providing obviously revenue to American defense manufacturers, but provide key military equipment to our key allies in a reliable, effective way.
Okay, that's good. All very important. Okay? Because our budget is just about approved, and it's a big budget, and we want to spend the money properly, get the best equipment in the world. We rebuilt our military during my first term, rebuilt it entirely, beautiful. And then some was given away to Afghanistan so stupidly, the most embarrassing day in the history of our country, I think. But it's still, we have to fix it up a little bit, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to do a good job of it, too. Thank you.
Next up, sir, we have a series of executive orders and a memorandum all relating to deregulation, which has obviously been a major priority of your administration. The first of these is an executive order. The Biden administration launched what you've called a war on showers. They had certain regulations that basically killed the water pressure of showers and other water appliances.
You can say it. Go ahead. What are the appliances?
I mean, it's everything, sir.
Sinks and toilets.
Dishwashers, toilets, sinks. But the shower heads are a huge deal.
There's no water. You don't get water. It's ridiculous.
So with this executive order, we're effectively going to be reversing that set of regulations to ensure that Americans have choice in the consumer market. If they want a low-flow shower head, they can buy one. If they want a real-deal shower head, they should have the ability to get one.
That's true. If you buy a new house, you pay a lot of money, and the developers, you're not allowed to do anything more. They put restrictors on. They used to have a restrictor where you could take it out, but now they weld it in. And you take a shower or wash your hands, whatever you do, including dishwashers when no water comes out. But you wash your hands, and in my case, I like to take a nice shower to take care of my beautiful hair. And I have to stand under the shower for 15 minutes till it gets wet. It comes out drip, drip, drip. It's ridiculous. And what you do is you end up washing your hands 5 times longer. It's the same water. And we're going to open it up so that people can live, and we're going to hopefully have Congress approve it so it's memorialized. We're going to try and get all of these things including straws, a little thing like straws. We did straws a month ago, where the paper straws were melting, they were dissolving, they weren't working well, and we went back to the plastic straws. We're going to get Congress to memorialize just about everything we've done here, because most of it's common sense. But the water is horrible. When you go into anytime you see a new faucet, you know it's going to be a long wash of the hands. And so we're changing. It's a big deal. I did it in the first administration. Biden came in his first week, and he had no idea what he was doing, but somebody told him to do it. In his first week, he put the restrictions on all the bathroom utilities. Even in areas that have so much water, they don't know what to do with it. You see those areas all the time with the flooding. So we're doing that, and we're going to get all of the things that you've seen. I think we set a record. We're up to almost 200 and 500 amendments. Nobody's ever done that much. We're going to get them approved by Congress, so they're memorialized. And we look forward to doing that. It's very important. And Congress is going to start working on it as soon as we get the big, beautiful deal done. The big, beautiful deal is important. The biggest tax cuts in the history of our country, that's important. Okay. Okay, is that okay? Good. It's a 10.
You're taking a good shower.
We rate the signatures. That was a 10, that's why.
This is another executive order relating to deregulation, sir. There are a lot of regulations on the books that either promote monopoly directly or prevent new market entrants from entering into a given market. The net effect of that is very negative for consumers. So what this executive order is going to do is direct your departments and agencies to work with the FTC, with the Attorney General, with the Department of Justice, to ensure that the regulations we have on the books don't function as anti-competitive barriers to new market entrants. The net effect of all of that is going to hopefully be market forces that redound to the benefit of consumers and ordinary Americans as opposed to monopolistic businesses.
I said yesterday he was a great, great student at Harvard before it went bad. It's gone really bad. Now they're teaching their students mathematics, basic mathematics. Can you believe it? So what does that mean? They're allowing people in that can't add 2 and 2? What's going on at Harvard?
I went to law school there, sir, and it was pretty liberal when I was there, but it's gone way off the deep end in recent years.
I don't know if you read that. They're teaching them basic mathematics, people that got accepted to Harvard. How come they got accepted if they don't have mathematics? And we're holding back $8 billion. Can we believe? We give Harvard $8 billion. And we're holding back Columbia. We're holding back a lot of the schools because they were woke. And they've hurt a lot of people. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
There are a large number of regulations on the books. These are regulations that are currently in effect that we believe blatantly violate the law, blatantly violate Supreme Court precedent, that otherwise are just blatantly illegal. So what this presidential memorandum does basically just directs the heads of your departments and agencies to follow the law and to cease enforcing regulations that are blatantly illegal or unconstitutional.
It's a big deal. It's really very important that we get these memorialized in Congress. Very important for the long haul, right?
Yes, sir. This is the last of our deregulatory EOs for the day. This is zero-based regulatory budgeting. The idea here is that over time, regulations accumulate on the books and in the Federal Register, and people aren't taking a close, detailed look at what's on the books and clearing them out as times change or as regulations become dated or ineffective. What this executive order is going to require is each of your departments and agencies to scrutinize on a continuing rolling basis all of the regulations they actually have on the books and sunset those that either no longer serve a purpose or the departments and agencies can't identify a specific reason for keeping them active.
Okay.
sir. Sir, you've taken action against a number of law firms that have in one way or another been involved in the weaponization of government or actions of lawfare. One of those law firms is Sussman Godfrey, similar to what we've done previously with other law firms. This is an executive order that takes certain measures against Sussman Godfrey to ensure that they can't access government resources, government buildings, scrutinizing certain aspects of their practices as a law firm, given their previous activities.
And we signed with many law firms, the ones that we thought were inappropriate, and they've all agreed to pay $100 million. They went for some pretty big numbers. I guess we have a total. What do we have? What's the total about? What's the total right now, Steve? About, would you say?
Getting close to probably 600-700 million now, I would think. We've multiple at 100 million, some at 125 million. So the numbers are adding up. We're going to be close to $1 billion soon.
One at $40 million, millions of dollars an hour. But they don't admit guilt. Remember that, they don't admit guilt. But then we have another 5 to go, I think, 5 of them. And this one is we're just starting a process with this one.
Yes, sir.
Because there were some very bad things that happened with these law firms.
And this firm is very involved in the election misconduct.
Weren't they all involved in the election misconduct? I think they were all involved.
Yes.
Anyway, so they went from $40 million to $125 million. And most of them are at about $100 million. Right? All right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The next presidential memorandum we have for you relates to Miles Taylor. You may recall that Miles Taylor served in the Department of Homeland Security during your previous administration. In his capacity with the Department of Homeland Security, he leaked classified information. He wrote a book under the pseudonym Anonymous, making outrageous claims both about your administration and about others in it. What this presidential memorandum is going to do, one, it's going to strip any active clearance that he has in light of his past activities involving classified information. It's also going to order the Department of Justice to investigate his activities to see what else might come up in that context, given his egregious behavior during your previous administration.
And I had no idea who this guy was. I had no idea. I saw him on CNN, or one of them, I guess CNN, a lot. He'd be on all the time saying that the president is the president. I had no idea. It's like, in this office you have a lot of young people, and they're here. I'll see him for 2 minutes, and I assume he was in the office, but I barely remember him. It was somebody that went out and wrote a book and said all sorts of terrible things that were all lies, and it was like he was this gentleman or that gentleman, like I dealt with him all the time. I had no idea who this guy. I said, who the hell is Miles Taylor? And he made a living on going on CNN talking about the president. And I think what he did, he wrote a book Anonymous, said all sorts of lies, bad things, and I think it's like a traitor, it's like spying. He walks into the office. He's supposed to be sitting here. A lot of people, I'll be here, and there'll be 20 people standing in the room. There'll be oftentimes young people in the office. I assume he was one of them at least, but I didn't know anything about him. And he wrote a book, Anonymous, and I always thought it was terrible. And now we have a chance to find out whether or not it was terrible. But it was a work of fiction. Had a lot of publicity, got himself a nice job with CNN, or one of them. And I think we have to do something about it. You can't have that happen. If that happens to other presidents, it wouldn't be sustainable for other presidents. I seem to be able to sustain, but if that happened to other presidents, it's just unfair. And if it was a Democrat president, I'd say that's a terrible thing. A thing like that can happen. That's a terrible thing. And it's time to find out whether or not somebody can do that. Can they write a book about very confidential meetings and you know, because they happen to be one of a lot of people in a room, and they go out and write a book, and worse than that, call it anonymous, like it's a big deal. And everybody's saying, who is it, who is it, who is it? Then it was found out who he was a long time later, and he got a lot of publicity off that one. He's like a promoter. But we're going to find out whether or not somebody's allowed to do that. I think it's a very important case, and I think he's guilty of treason, if you want to know the truth. But we'll find out. And I assume we're recommending this to the Department of Justice.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Terrible guy.
Similarly, sir, Christopher Krebs, the former head of CISA. This is a man who weaponized his position against free speech in the election context, in the context of COVID-19. This is it's a similar presidential memorandum to the one you just signed. It addresses his access to government, existing clearances he might have, and further instructs your Department of Justice, other aspects of your government, to investigate some of the malign acts that he participated in while he was still head of CISA.
This is another one. I don't know that I met him. I'm sure I met him, but I didn't know him. And he came out right after the election, which was a rigged election, a badly rigged election. We did phenomenally in that election. Look what happened to our country because of it. Open borders, millions of people coming into our country. Russia and Ukraine, that would have never happened. October 7th would have never happened. Afghanistan, the way they withdrew with 13 dead, but so many killed, actually. I mean, so many killed outside of the 13 soldiers, hundreds of people killed. And maybe, I don't know, never mentioned, but I mentioned it, 42 or 43 people so badly injured, the legs, the arms, blown off, the face. And this is all because of an incompetent group of people that preceded us, and that would have never happened. And this guy Krebs was saying, oh, the election was great, it was great. Well, it's been proven that it was not only not great. When you look at all these lawyers and law firms that are signing, giving us hundreds of millions of dollars, it was proven by so many different ways in so many different forms, from the legislatures not approving to the 51 intelligence agents that worked from all of the different scamming operations. It was a very corrupt election. They used COVID to cheat. And we're going to find out about this guy too, because this guy's a wise guy. He said, we've been proved this is the most secure election in the history of our country. Now, this was a disaster. And frankly, we should go to paper ballots, same-day voting, voter ID, and one other thing, you should get a little certificate that says you're a citizen of our country. You get a citizen piece of paper that says you're a citizen before you can vote. But you want voter ID and you want paper ballots, and you really want same-day voting. If you don't have same-day voting, they decide to change the air conditioner. Oh, we're fixing the air conditioner. Let's move all these boxes. We'll bring them back in a few days, and then they don't bring back those boxes. We got to have safe elections. We have to have borders. Ideally, we have to have a free press, which we don't have. We don't have a free press. We have a very dishonest press. This is an honor. We're going to find out whether or not he was right. This was a disgraceful election, and this guy sat back saying, well, I'm a member, or like he's a Republican or something, and almost right from the beginning. And he's tried to make the case that this election was a safe election. I think he said, this is the safest election we've ever had. And yet, every day you read in the papers about more and more fraud that's discovered. He's the fraud. He's a disgrace. So we'll find out whether or not it was a safe election. And if it wasn't, he's got a big price to pay. And he's a bad guy. There's another one. I have no idea who he is. Krebs. I have no idea who he is. I'm sure he was in the room at some point, just like you're all in the room, but I have no idea who he was. So thank you very much. Those last two are very important, I think, for the country.
Thank you, sir. And lastly, we just have 3 proclamations. These are the sorts of things that most presidents use an auto pen for. You obviously don't like using the auto pen much, if at all. The first of these is National Former Prisoner of War Recognition Day. This is one that you did in each of, I believe, each of the previous the years of your previous administration. Recognizes former prisoners of war. More generally, this proclamation is written to acknowledge the great steps you've made both in this administration and your previous administration on behalf of veterans, homeless veterans, others who've suffered in that way, and basically stating that it's a priority of your administration to ensure that veterans and homeless veterans are cared for properly.
Good. And you know what? They ought to find out who was using that auto pen, because whoever that person was, he or she was like the President of the United States, and I'm against auto pens. I think auto pens are not a good thing, especially when you're talking about documents like we're signing today. If he can't sign, then he can't be president. It's pretty simple. Let's see whether or not he could sign. But I think that should be tested. I really think that should be tested. It's another one. And you may think about it, because how can a man that, did he really know that when they gave all false information on the council, I mean, the whole unselect committee of political lunatics, they destroyed all the information. You can't get any information. They went for like a year and a half, almost 2 years, screaming and ranting and raving. Democrats plus two worse than Democrats. You had Liz Cheney, and crying Adam Kinzinger. Crying Adam. Every time I looked at him, he was crying. The guy was a crier. But you can't do that. You just can't do that. So we're going to find out a lot. I think we're going to find out a lot. These last 3 or 4 have been they've been very, very interesting. We'll see what happens.
Sure.
But I don't think a president should be allowed to use an auto pen when they're signing very, important legislation. I think a president should sign it, not use an auto pen. And we're going to find out whether or not he knew what the hell he was doing. I'm sure at this point he'll say, I signed it. They'll tell him what to say. But to give pardons to people that destroyed all the information. If you destroyed information on a civil case, just a civil case, not a criminal case, a civil case, they put you in jail for that. And they found out that Pelosi was the one that was in charge of the security of the Capitol, and she knew all about it, and she admitted her guilt to her daughter, who was a movie documentary person. I'm sure her daughter's not too happy about that. I'm sure Crazy Nancy's not too happy. But we found out all the things, everything. And we go for the information. Sir, we've destroyed all of that information. If I haven't destroyed it, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. I guarantee you that. I'd be sitting someplace else. So I think it's something that we should really look at, because that's so important. The whole concept of an auto pen, because whoever's, auto pens are run by somebody. Whoever ran the auto pen was President of the United States. And I would be willing to bet that Biden didn't know, probably didn't know anything about any of it. Very dangerous, very dangerous. So you're going to check that out, right?
Yes, sir. We're working on it right now, sir. This is just another proclamation, sir, declaring National Crime Victims' Rights Week. You've obviously made it a major priority of your administration to track down and at times deport criminals who have committed violence on our streets, who have victimized so many people. This is an annual proclamation that hopefully gets Americans to remember that when crimes occur, there are real victims, there are real people who are affected, and there are people who suffer as a result.
Okay, it's very important. Thank you. I just want to add, so we're working very hard with Democrats, the governor, with Matt Hall, with a lot of transportation, Sean, and all of the people trying to keep Selfridge Air Force Base open, strong, thriving, and I think we're going to be successful, Governor. I think we'll be very successful at that. We've gotten some good feedback from Pete Hegseth and Department of Defense, and they're talking about F-16s, they're talking about F-35s, et cetera. It's a great piece of property, it's a great location, and it's a great state. So I think we're going to come back with a very good answer. We're also working on a certain fish that's taken over a beautiful lake called Michigan, right? And that's a tough one. That's a tough one. It's very. Do you want to just talk about that?
Sure, Mr. President. Yeah. First of all, I want to thank you for caring so much about Michigan. We've been working a long time. We couldn't get Joe Biden to do anything about either one of these issues, particularly Selfridge Air Force Base. It'll be critical to Michigan's economy and our security when you're able to deliver us another mission there. But on the Asian carp, for years, when Obama was there, we could never get anyone to do anything about this invasive species that's going to destroy our Great Lakes. You know how important recreational fishing and so much of that is to our state. Because of your work, we're hopeful that we'll get a solution there and we'll get that barrier built so we can protect our Great Lakes. So thank you, Mr. President.
And they're very powerful fish. I mean, I see them, they jump out of the water, they jump at the fishermen. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. And has this gotten into any of the other lakes yet? Because you would think it would be pretty easy because they're all sort of connected.
It's why we're working so hard to make sure that we work with the Army Corps and erect a barrier so that the Asian carp can't get into Lake Michigan. It'll devastate the ecosystem, the economy, tourism, and it's 20% of the world's fresh waters in the Great Lakes, Mr. President, which is why it's so important that as a nation we protect the pristine waters. Yep.
And all of a sudden, I assume the lakes are all interconnected, right? Yeah. So at some point they're going to be in the other lakes. And so we're going to work hard on that. I spoke with the Army Corps of Engineers, and they have a method. It's a pretty gruesome method, but it's a method. And I think they know what to do. So we're going to work on that very hard. And thank you, Governor, very much. Sort of a bipartisan thing when you get right down to it. Yep. It's a very expensive thing, actually. It costs a lot. I looked at the numbers. I said, wow. But we have to save Lake Michigan because these fish, they eat everything in the way, including the other fish. They eat everything. Are people endangered by the fish?
I think I mean, they're going to eat all the fish there. We won't be able to fish anymore. And that's a big deal in Lake Michigan. There's a lot of fishing, recreation. Yeah. So it's going to be a problem there. But you're right, it's bipartisan, sir. But you're the one taking action on these issues. We couldn't get Biden to do it on Selfridge. This thing has been delayed for 15 years where we were trying to do it. It started under Obama where we were trying to do it. He wouldn't do anything about it. So we appreciate you paying so much attention to this and taking action.
Well,
sir.
I would. And the governor, in all fairness, called me about it. I had seen it, and she called me, and John James called me. And, we spoke with your office, and it's I want to put that down. Really is bipartisan. It's great to see it. Actually, it's great to see that, and that includes Selfridge too. Mm-hmm. And we're going to get it done, and we'll all stand there together and cut a ribbon. Okay, Gretchen? Good. That's good. Thank you very much. I'm glad you brought it up, and I'm glad you brought it up, Matt. Appreciate it. And I know you two get along pretty well, right?
Yeah. About 70% of the time, which is pretty good.
I think you do. All right, good. We'll have something to celebrate pretty soon. So pretty sure about that. Okay. Thank you, Gretchen, very much. Okay, do you have any questions?
Mr. President, where does the TikTok deal stand, given what we've seen, the tariffs to China?
Well, it's moving along, but obviously I would say right now China's not exactly thrilled about signing it. We have a deal with some very good people, some very rich companies that would do a great job with it, but we're going to have to wait to see what's going to happen with China. So
Mr. President, still on the table?
No, it's on the table very much. I think China's going to want to do it, actually.
Mr. President, can you explain more of what you believe is the end game with China? Are you waiting for President Xi to blink? How do you think this is all going to be resolved?
Look, for years we've been ripped off and taken advantage of by China and others, in all fairness. But by China, that's the big one. And it's just one of those things. We're making $2 billion a day right now, this country. $2 billion a day with tariffs. And they were making $2 billion a day. We'll be making more. And now when you see what happened today, I don't know if it's still there. I looked an hour ago, but we were up like close to 3,000 points. Nobody's ever seen a day like that. I think that's a record, isn't it, fellas?
Definitely.
Is that a record?
It's a big
Who would have thought we were going to have a record like that after watching? But because the geniuses of the world, they get it. Our country's very strong. We were left a very, very weakened country both economically, financially, because of all of the tariffs and all of the other companies just raiding us and ripping us off, and also at the border where 21 million people were allowed to come in. Many of those people were criminals. And but the people that do this for a living, some of them are very smart and some of them aren't smart at all. But these guys are very smart, and my group is very smart. My whole group is smart. And you've done so amazing on the border. I read the other day that there were 9 people and hundreds of thousands 2 years ago with Biden, and we had 9. We had it down to 9, and they were all let in for medical reasons. They were in bad shape. We let them in for medical reasons, not even for anything else. So you've been amazing. But that's a big thing. I think it's one of the greatest problems that I've never seen anything like it. Open borders. The whole world was emptied out. Prisons from all over the world, from the Congo in Africa, from Africa to Asia, a lot in South America, but it wasn't just South America. Prisons emptied out. And I said it outside with the drivers before, but El Salvador has been amazing, a job that the president's done. He's coming to see me next week, and we look forward to that. But that's really been amazing. Yes?
Mr. President, the EU also announced increases in tariffs today. Why not treat...
Bad timing for them. That's bad timing.
Why not
They
treat
said
them
They didn't put them in. No, they threatened them,
I
but they
think
picked a later date, which our expectation is it's going to be later still.
Okay, good. I'm glad that they held back.
You said you were watching the market.
If this was the strategy all along to bring them to the table, why did you instruct or advise, or maybe they did it on their own, some of your top aides to say this is not a negotiation, to hold the line, that they were going to hold the line, that you were not going to change your mind?
A lot of times it's not a negotiation until it is, and that happens. And, you know, I said outside that you have to have flexibility to do it right, and that's what we have. We brought everybody to the table, and it may not be a negotiation. It may not last. I mean, you know, things may be asked that I think are not fair to us. Look, we've been ripped off by essentially everybody for 35 years. This is not just a new thing. And Roger Penske just left. He's a great gentleman, great man, actually. And he said no other president would have had the guts to do this. And I believe that's right. They wouldn't have done it. They should have done this a long time ago. A long time ago they should have done it. I started it with China. I took in hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs and taxes from China in my first term. And we had the greatest economy. We were up 88% on the stock market. That was the greatest ever in the history of our country. But it had to be done. It's something that had to be done.
Mr. President, thank you so much. Which countries will be negotiating first? Do you have any criteria? Because, for example, Brazil and the UK, they do not have deficits with the US. They have a surplus. They do not have a surplus. They have deficits with the US. So what is the criteria? And also, would you consider talking or meeting with Xi Jinping?
No, sure. He's a friend of mine. I like him. President Xi, I like him. I respect him. But they haven't treated our country right. Sure, I'd meet with him. On the other countries, we have Japan is here, and South Korea is here, and others are here, and we're trying to see them. It's from what I hear, it's much more than 75. I said 75 plus.
So many.
It's everybody wants to make a deal, actually, and you know we want to do what's right for our country. We also want to do what's right for the world. The world is important. I mean, you know, it's the world, right? And I think we're going to make a lot of people very happy. And I think investing in the United States of America will be the greatest investment that anybody's ever made.
Mr. President, we still expect to see the sectoral tariffs, so the pharmaceuticals, steel. Is that something you're still considering moving forward
Yeah,
with?
well, I will be, because we want them coming back. You know, we realized during COVID that we don't make our drugs and our pharmaceuticals in this country. So I realized that. And it was a big realization. We had to go to China to get drugs. We had to go to other places. I won't even mention the names, but we had to go to other places. We don't make it, and that's because we let them leave. And now if they want to come back, we're going to put tariffs on the pharmaceutical companies, and they're going to all want to come back. They're going to come back. I'm not going to pay them any money like Biden with the chip deal. That chip deal was horrible. They give billions and billions of dollars to chip companies. All they have is money. They have so much money. and they give billions of dollars, and they're just going to keep the money. They're not going to spend it. The only thing that's going to bring them back is you say, we have a barrier. You have to pay 50% or 100% or 200%. And if they have to pay that, they're going to say, we're not going to pay that. We're going to build here. And that's what happened. We're the biggest, most prestigious chip company in the world, spending $200 to $300 billion. Think of that, $1 billion to build essentially one massive plant. It'll be one of the largest plants in the world. And we're going to get them very quickly. We're going to get them energy. We're going to get them the electricity they need and the energy that they need. And it'll be approved by Lee Zeldin, a total professional. And it'll be approved very quickly. And they'll get their zoning very quickly. They'll have everything done in a matter of months.
Thank you, sir. You've procured a record amount of private sector investments since your election, $7 trillion. You talked about the importance of all that. Can you talk about how these investments will have a positive impact on families who felt like the previous economy left them behind, and why your executive orders on coal yesterday is so important given the amount of manufacturing that you're ushering back in?
Thank you. And which is correct. We have, I would say, more than $7 trillion now, right, of investment coming in. Apple is coming in for $500 billion alone. We have other companies coming in with massive numbers. We have car companies that are coming in. No, we've never seen anything like it. Maybe in the 1940s or 50s or something, but we've never seen anything like it. They had 3 plants canceled in Mexico. Not that we want to hurt Mexico, but we're for us. And that's what my job is. It's not to take care of other countries, but I want to help other countries as much as I can, but we have to take care of America first, and it's about America first. So we have many, many companies coming in that would have never come in if we didn't win the election and then put the tariffs on. And they're coming in because when they build in the United States, there are no tariffs. You don't have to pay any tariffs. So instead of paying 30, 40, 50% or 25%, but it could go a lot higher in some of the industries. So we have steel mills right now that are raging. The steel industry was gone. If I didn't put the tariffs on steel, because China was dumping massive amounts of steel in my first term, and I put tariffs on it, I saved the steel industry, but now it's going to thrive, maybe like never before. I mean, if you go back to U.S. Steel from 90 years ago, it was incredible. It was the #1 company in the world for a long time. That's why we don't want to see it go to Japan. And we love Japan, but U.S. Steel was a very special company. We don't want it to go to Japan or any other place. So we're working with them, and I don't know if they need any money now. I'll be honest with you, they hit gold. They hit gold because if you look at it, they have such orders for steel now. It's incredible. What's going on in our country is incredible with respect to plants. So we lost 90,000 plants and factories from the beginning of NAFTA, the worst trade deal ever made in the history of this world, but certainly in the history of trade. There's never been a worse trade deal. We were able to cancel that. We had to get approval from Congress. It was like a disastrous curse because you had to go to Congress to get it terminated. You couldn't just terminate it because it was a bad deal. And you had people in Congress that didn't want to do it because they had other reasons, maybe bad reasons. They're mostly not there anymore, those people. But it's amazing what's happened. I appreciate that question because it's incredible. I don't think we've ever seen anything like it. $7 trillion, and it's much more than that because these are places that we know. $7 trillion is unheard of. I'd never looked at the Biden numbers, but you could go a whole year and it was peanuts. Everybody was leaving. They weren't coming in, they were leaving, and that means jobs are leaving. And so we're not playing games. We're going to make this country greater than ever before. Thank you for that question.
Mr. President, it seems that China's made some... Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Thanks. For the past few days, we've heard from this administration no pause. Was this idea of doing a pause, did that just come about this morning? Can you tell us exactly what came into consideration for you and your advisors?
For a period of time, I wouldn't say this morning. Over the last few days, I've been thinking about it. I've been dealing with Scott, with Howard, with some other people that are very professional. And I think it probably came together early this morning, fairly early this morning. Just wrote it up. We didn't have the use of we didn't have access to lawyers, or we just wrote it up from our hearts, right? It was written from the heart. And I think it was well written too, but it was written from the heart. It was written as something that I think was very positive for the world and for us. And we don't want to hurt countries that don't need to be hurt. And they all want to negotiate. The only problem is, you can only do so many at one time. It's like, we want to do it right. We want to get it right. We want to take care of them, but we have to take care of our country. So, but this was something certainly we've been talking about for a period of time. And we decided to pull the trigger, and we did it today, and we're happy about it. I didn't know it would have that kind of an impact, but it's, I think they have the biggest increase in the history of the stock market. That's pretty good. That's pretty. You're almost, if you keep going, you're going to be back to where it was 4 weeks ago. But it was a sick market 4 weeks ago, because the trade was sick. It was only a question of time. I don't blame the tariffs. I think the tariffs just sort of magnified what was happening. It was sick. Biden allowed these people to get away with murder. Biden allowed China to just take advantage of us. We had like $1 trillion deficit with China, $1 trillion deficit. So that was going to only be a matter of time. I think the tariffs brought it out faster and they magnified the problem. But I think this was a problem that existed far beyond tariffs. This was a systemic problem, and we're going to cure that problem. And maybe to a large extent we have, because we've revealed it, and we've revealed it very strongly. Yes, sir, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. So it seems China's made some serious missteps here in these negotiations, and Secretary Bessent said earlier you may have goaded them into a tough position here. I'm wondering, are you in a way putting together a coalition against China in terms of trade here?
No. Well, China, look, they're very capable. And I don't blame China for what happened. I blame the people sitting right at this desk, right behind this desk, or another desk. You get your choice of 7. I happen to pick the Resolute. But I blame the people sitting behind in this chair, behind this desk, for being stupid, incompetent, or not having courage. This should have been done years ago. This should have been done before Obama, in all fairness. Not only Biden, Obama. It should have been done many years ago. This started with the World Trade Organization, which was owned by China. It was owned and paid for by China. They didn't even have to do things. They considered them a nation that was undeveloped. They said they were a developing nation. Well, we're a developing nation too, if you think about it. Look at our inner cities. Look at what's happened. I think we're starting from ground zero there, right? So we're a developing nation too. No, I don't. I know it's a lot of people take heat for saying that, but I blame the people sitting at this desk more than I blame China. If China can get away with what they got away with taking hundreds of billions and trillions of dollars right out of our pocket because our people here were stupid, they were stupid people. Maybe corrupt, I don't know. I don't know how you can be that stupid. How do you get to be president and you're stupid? But they certainly weren't courageous, and they allowed this to happen. And with Japan and with many other countries that took advantage of us. I mean, we had deficits with almost every country. I used to read these things. The first term I'd read them. I'd actually read the agreements. I'd say, how could anybody agree to this stuff? So certainly they were rough, and they were tough, and they were smart. And you can blame them, but I really blame the people that allowed them to do it. Because, if you could read first grade and you could read these agreements, you'd say, these are terrible deals. I actually used to say, who would allow deals like this to be made for our country? And maybe it's people that didn't care. Maybe it's people that weren't courageous. Maybe it's people that were corrupt. I don't know. But I blame those people more than I blame anybody else.
Mr. President, you've been very specific in saying that you would like the EU to purchase U.S. energy. Is there something specific that you would like China to do?
Well, you'll be hearing about that. Yeah, there are a lot of things I'd like China to do.
Are there some examples?
There are a lot of things that I want China to do, and I'll be telling China what that is. Not you, but I'll be telling China.
Mr. President, Iran, you said the other day that if they do not agree to a potential nuclear deal, that it would be very dangerous for them. What specifically?
Well, they can't have a nuclear weapon.
Did you mean military action, though, if they don't agree?
Oh, if necessary? Absolutely. Yeah.
And do you have
a deadline for these
Yeah,
talks?
I do.
And
You're talking about with Iran?
Yes.
Yeah, I
They're saying
do.
it's not
Do you have
directional.
something definitive this weekend, or do you see this as the start of a process?
It's a start.
Do you have a timeline?
We have a little time, but we don't have much time
Who is starting the
because we're not going to let them have a nuclear weapon.
Is
Can't
it
let them have a
going to
nuclear
be
weapon.
there, Mr. President?
And we're going to let them thrive. I want them to thrive. I want Iran to be great. The only thing they can't have is a nuclear weapon. They understand that. You know, the people are so incredible in Iran, and they're so smart. They're very smart people. And, you know, they're in a rough situation, rough regime. But they understand, and the leaders understand. And I'm not asking for much. They can't have a nuclear weapon, and I've said that. And I was a little bit surprised because when the election was rigged, I figured they'd get the weapon because with me they were broke. They were broke. They had no money because of the sanctions. Nobody could buy oil. We did that to Venezuela just recently, and we'll do it to other countries if we have to. I want to see Russia and Ukraine make a deal. They got to make a deal. When schools get blown up and bad things happen, like I'm hearing about, it's no good. I hope we're going to make a deal with Russia and Ukraine. But with Iran, if it requires military, we're going to have military. Israel will obviously be very much involved in that. He'll be the leader of that. But nobody leads us. We do what we want to do.
When would the clock run out on the talks? When would the talks need to conclude before you might do military?
I can't really be specific, but you know, when you start talks, you know if they're going along well or not. And I would say the conclusion would be when I think they're not going along well. So that's just a feeling.
Mr. President, on the subject of U.S. troops stationed in Europe, do you have any plans to reduce the number of U.S. troops in Europe or in other NATO countries?
Well, good. I mean, it depends. We pay for military over in Europe. You know, we don't get reimbursed by much. South Korea too. So it'll be one of the things we discuss. That's unrelated to trade, but I think we'll make it part of it because it makes sense. Be nice to wrap it all up in one package for each country. You know, it's nice and clean, and we have plenty of law firms. These are great law firms that we signed with, the best. And I think part of the way I'll spend some of the money that we're getting from the law firms, you know, in terms of their legal time, will be, if we can do it, I think we can do it, using these great law firms to represent us with regard to the many, many countries that we'll be dealing with. We'll have good lawyers representing us, but we want to have good lawyers, and these are the best, considered the best lawyers in the world, right? I mean, considered the best in the world. I don't know. They just went off a little bit.
Mr. President, two questions. On Iran, do you have an update on who will be participating or conducting these conversations? Will Witkoff be there on Saturday for these direct talks? And on China, some economists are saying that right now is technically embargo on China with 125% tariffs. Are you concerned of escalation beyond the trade war with China?
No, I'm not concerned. I think President Xi is a very smart guy, and I think we'll end up making a very good deal for both. But, you know, we've been treated so badly for so many years. Again, we allowed that to happen. We've been treated so badly for so many years. But, no, I don't expect that. I think President Xi is one of the very smart people of the world, and I don't think he'd allow that to happen. And we're very powerful. This country is very powerful. Let me tell you, it's far more powerful than people understand. We have weaponry that nobody has any idea what it is, and it is the most powerful weapons in the world that we have. More powerful than anybody, not even close. So nobody's going to do that, but I think that if that's what you're referring to, maybe it's not. But just in terms of basic escalation, which is what you said, no, I think that President Xi is a man who knows exactly what has to be done. He's a very smart man. He loves his country. I know that for a fact. I know him very well. And I think he's going to want to get to a deal. I think that's going to happen. We'll get a phone call at some point, and it'll be off to the races. It'll be a great thing for them. It'll be a great thing for us. It's going to be a great thing for the world and for humanity.
Do you have plans to meet with Putin in Saudi Arabia?
At some point I will. At some point. We'll have to see. I mean, we have to get there right now. You know, we got to get there. In the meantime, They're losing 2,500 on average young people every single week. Think of that. 2,500 people a week. It's not even conceivable. We got to get there fast. Say a couple of more. Yes.
Do you have to increase tariffs on China even more before they come to the table or give you a phone
I
call?
can't imagine it. No, I can't imagine it. I don't think so. I don't think I'll have to do it. I don't think we'll have to do it more. We calculated it very carefully. By the way, when you hear 100, a lot of people charge much more than that. Canada charges much more than that to our farmers, our dairy farmers. Many people charge much more than 100 or 125 in this case. But I don't, it's still a significant number. I don't see that again.
On the investigations.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, Mr. President. So do you think some of your tariff critics would prefer, to see the United States go through turmoil than to actually see it succeed just because they are your policies?
You mean just leave the tariffs the way they are now and just relax, right? Some people have said that. Look, again, we're making, it'll be soon, much more than $2 billion a day. That's not the worst thing that I've ever heard. So, yeah, some people say that. But, we look at the other side, too. I think as the United States, we have an obligation to look also at the other side. We want what's good for everyone. I mean, it's America first, but we also want to make sure there's a world that can live and live happily and all of that. And so, this is the way I look. No, but there are people that say, look, where we are now, I've been in worse positions in my life than making $2 billion a day plus, right? It's really plus. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Press. Thank you, Press. Head it out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Head it out. Or the markets are what really changed your mind when it came to
The markets right now are extremely good. Thank you.
Thank you, Press. Thank you. Head it out. Thanks, guys. Here, this way. Right this way. Thank you. Keep going.
All right, President Trump just asked a bunch of questions, spoke on a bunch of things. He said he had been thinking about the tariff pause for several days. That's what he said in that appearance. He said he had been thinking about the tariff. Oops, hold on. Gee whiz. Hold on. Hang on. President Trump said he was thinking about the tariff pause for several days, and it came together this morning. In case you missed it, I'll just go over what happened. So President Trump announced tariff pause today. As I understand it, from everything I'm hearing, basically the countries that had tariffs on them, that President Trump had recently put tariffs on, now they all have 10%, except for China, which still has 125%. And Canada and Mexico have the same tariff thing going on as before. They hadn't gotten new tariffs from Trump last week. Was it last week? Anyways, so there's basically a 10%, the countries that had, a lot of countries had tariffs as of 12:01 a.m. that were more than 10%. Some 20-something, 30-something, 40-something percent. That has all been reduced to 10% for everybody for 90 days. China is still 125%. President Trump bumped that up this morning from 104 to 125. And remember, there are still tariffs on certain products like steel and aluminum that President Trump has put on recently. Those are still on. He has said that there's going to be a new pharmaceuticals tariff. He just said that right now. I will say this. If when President Trump did his big announcement about tariffs in the Rose Garden, if he had just said 10% on everyone and 125% on China and had kept it until now, I think there'd be a lot of worry. And, it would be the exact same situation as now, but I think there's a lot of positivity in the markets because it's not as bad as it was before. If he had just said what actually is happening right now, which is the 10%, and the 125% on China. That alone would have been big news. So it's interesting that that's where we're at now, but it's the markets went way up today because they had been responding to the even bigger tariff numbers. But there's still significant tariffs out there, 10% on all these different countries and 125% on China. Now, I don't know how long these will last because President Trump has said we're negotiating deals. So maybe in the coming weeks, days and weeks, the 10% will go away on various countries as deals are announced. I have no idea. But remember, there are still 125% tariffs right now on China and 10% on lots of countries that didn't have those 10% tariffs before. I would also love for a second to play what he said when he talked about, he said people were, what was the word he used? People got something. Yippee afraid. Yes, Trump said that he had pulled back on tariffs because people were getting yippee and afraid. I'll play that before we end. By the way, I want to say a quick thanks for your support. I didn't get a chance because Trump was talking, so I want to say it now. Thank you to Dennis Kennedy. Thank you so much, Dennis, for your support, and Lee Elmore, and Sevenfold, and Benny Hill. Thank you, Benny Hill. Huang Vincent, who thinks it's friend or foe test and China was exposed. Thank you, the Car Czar. The Car Czar says that the 10% tariffs will still bring in a lot of money. That's what the Car Czar says. Again, I don't know how long those 10% tariffs are going to be in effect for. Thank you, the Car Czar. I really appreciate all your support. Thank you to also Mom of 457 Rose, our member Dewey. Thank you, Boomer Wow. Thank you, Jeff Galeese, who thinks the pause is likely due to too many countries trying to negotiate at the same time. I mean, President Trump has cited several reasons for the pause today. He's talked about he said that people were getting yippee and afraid. He said that countries wanted to negotiate, so he wanted to be able to negotiate with them. And that takes a lot of time. So there's been some different reasons cited today for, the Treasury Secretary today said this was Trump's plan all along, but Trump also said at one point, he said he'd been thinking about it for several days, and then it came together this morning, and he also said that it was a reaction to people getting yippee and afraid. So some different reasons given. Thanks also to PZ Papa Zulu. And also thank you to Hokies alum for subscribing over there on Twitch. Shout out to our moderators as well. We have Bastion Girl, Good Luck Duck, Matthew Kohai 3, Sarah, and Surly Dev over there on Twitch moderating. Linda Bell, Clary, Misha on X on YouTube. Thanks to our mods over there. People like Ruth Krafasi, thank you, Ruth. Beth Mythical, all of our other YouTube moderators who've been there, thank you for being there. Kayla Ribati, Margaret Riley on Facebook, and any other moderators I might be missing. Take some comments from you. But first, you know what I want to do? Really quick, I would love to show you. I got the video from him, his appearance with the racing people, where he said the thing about yippee. So let me pull that up here and show that to you. Because he talked about his thinking about why he decided on the tariffs. Let me pull it up here. I just got to find out where he talks about it. And then I'm going to show it to you right now. If this works. If this works. Why am I not hearing it? Let's see. Where is the volume here? Where is the volume? Should be right here. That's weird. Does this have no volume on it? I may have to refresh something here. I have the video in front of me. I'm not hearing anything. Why am I not hearing anything? Oh, I think I might know. Well, hold on a second here. Let me put it up on the screen and see if we hear anything. If not, I may have to refresh something here. That's silly. Oopsie. All right, here's the video. Where is this? Get rid of that. Here is this. Fine. And then let's go to here. Okay, so I'm going to put this on the screen now, but I have a feeling I might have to reset something because I am not hearing sound. This right here. Why aren't you seeing something? We're not hearing sound from this right now. There should be sound on this video. All right, let me refresh. Let me try one other thing here. This'll tell me for sure. It's the video itself. It's not that. All right. Well, I have to write to them about that. It's an issue with that particular video. I'm sorry. Well, I have the quote here, actually. The quote was, I have it right here from the White House press pool. It says, one of the quotes was, I thought that people were jumping a little out of line and getting yippy, he said. I'd like to give you the whole quote. It's annoying that video is not working. What if I try it one more other way? All right, sorry about that. I'll have to look into this after. I don't know why the video that was downloaded had no sound on it, so it's weird. It's very odd. You can see here from AP, Trump says he pulled back on many global tariffs, but not on China because people were getting yippee afraid. Trump was asked about volatile markets and his decision to back off on many tariffs after previously suggesting he wouldn't do so. Trump says he pulled back on many tariffs on U.S. trading partners, but not on China because people were getting yippee and afraid. That's just one thing he said today. He offered another reason, or one or more other reasons at different points. Just so you know, the markets today, here are the figures on the markets. Dow finished up 7.87%. S&P 500 finished up about 9.5%. NASDAQ was up over 12%. Russell 2000 up about 8.7%. And Bitcoin is at about 83,000, whereas when he made the announcement, I believe it was around 77,000. Let me read a few comments here. Chris N says he listened to Elon. Mandelbrot said thinks Trump just admitted he had no clue what he is doing with tariffs. He said that it is all emotional. Leo says, did the bond market rebound because there was a massive sell-off overnight? Yes. Like for the 10-year bond, the prices went back up some and the yield went back down some. For example, the yield had gotten up to about, on the 10-year bond, I'm looking at it here, 4.515, and now it's down to 4.328. Cowboy Cool says they're running the biggest pump and dump scheme. Harvinius says didn't expect this pause this quickly. Dehydrated Water says Democrats hate Trump's achievements so much they'd rather be anti-Americans. Tim Ado says, I bought the dip and was highly rewarded. All right, I'll see if I have any other updates to give you. But again, it's interesting because again, the tariffs have been paused, but there are still 10% tariffs on basically all the countries he announced tariffs on like a week ago or so. They still have 10% tariffs, except for China, which has 125% tariffs. So that's significantly higher than it was several weeks ago. But it's lower than it was yesterday, as of a few hours ago, because, starting at 12:01 a.m., you had tariffs like, just to name a few, you had Japan was going to have 24% tariffs, Vietnam 46, Sri Lanka 44, Philippines 17. Cambodia 49. Also, I think a lot of people are assuming that it's a pause, but that eventually the 10% is going to go away. That's my guess. Is that there's assumption that this will just go away eventually, but we don't know. Judy thinks 10% is lower than expected before the announcement on Liberation Day. I don't remember the exact expectations. I believe that if he had said 10% across the board on Liberation Day, some people were thinking more than that, but that wouldn't have been seen as nothing. That would have been seen as significant. And again, we still have the 125% on China, which is huge. Maybe he'll announce a pause on that soon. If there had been no tariff announcement whatsoever, and then all of a sudden it came out one day that the U.S. was announcing 125% tariffs on China and China was announcing 84% tariffs on the U.S., that would have been an enormous story. That's still happening. Cogito thinks he has a lot of pressure from some in Congress. Krista Torres thinks he planned this. Steve Jackson says America is back. Sorry, I'm still in Lima, Peru, so you may be hearing like random noise outside where I'm showing this, where I'm doing this broadcast. But remember, just keep in mind, it's not that there's no tariffs right now. There's still 10% tariffs on lots of countries. And the biggest U.S. trading partners, I believe, at least most of them. And there's some other tariffs on Canada and the U.S. and Mexico, and there's 125% on China. So just keep that in mind. And Trump says more tariffs are coming, because he says there's going to be, for example, a big pharmaceuticals tariff coming up. Here. Let's see here. Treasury Secretary says Trump will keep 10% import tariff, raise import tariff on China. Treasury Secretary Bessent said the pause was not a result of brutal sell-offs in the financial markets. That's what he said. But again, he will keep the 10% baseline import tariff for now. Agent X says 2 months, folks, start stocking up your supplies. You ain't seen nothing yet. All right, guys, well, look, I think, who knows what's going to happen next? But market way up today, most of the big tariffs down to 10% now. Anything above 10% is now down to 10%, except for China, which is 125%. So there's still a lot going on. And, you know, that 125% from China will have huge impacts on prices of many goods if nothing happens with that. But President Trump is hoping a deal can be worked out. He had actually said today, when talking about this, he said at some point, hopefully in the near future, China will realize the days of ripping off the USA and other countries is no longer sustainable or acceptable. He has said, you know, he's open to negotiation with them. So we'll have to see what happens. All right, I think right now it is time for us to maybe start wrapping up this live stream. But I really appreciate you guys being here for our breaking news coverage of the Trump tariff pause and reduction. I say reduction because those above 10% tariffs were moved down to 10% for various countries. Who knows what will happen next? David Gray, our viewer, thinks it'll work itself out. Who knows what will happen next? Anyways, if there's big news tonight, I'll come on the air and I'll cover it. But I really appreciate you guys being here for the stream and sharing your comments with me and posting in the chat, those of you who did that, and sending me updates. And subscribe, follow Agenda Free TV. We cover all kinds of live breaking news without an agenda, Agenda Free TV. I will post updates on my X account, which is @Lookner on X. I'll show you that real quick. Oops, that's it right there. @Lookner on X. You can follow me there for breaking news updates when we're not on the air. And turn on notifications too so you get notified when we're going live. I can't tell you. I didn't know this was going to happen today. I can't tell you in advance what's going to happen. So, but we have a free notification system. It works awesome. You get sent a notification whenever we go live. We do it through Discord. So make sure you signed up for that so you don't miss a live breaking news broadcast. Really easy. The mods will post the link to the sign up for the notifications in the chat. Also in the description of this video on YouTube and Facebook, you can find that link to sign up for the notifications. Also, huge thanks to our moderators. Let's shout out our moderators. Oh, thanks, by the way, MG Monkey, for the gift memberships. So nice of you, MG Monkey. Thank you. Thanks to our moderators. Another busy day in the chats, and we can only have chat rooms because we have our moderators. They're a huge part of the channel. Thank you so much. Beth Mythical and Ruth Krafasi over there on YouTube, and all of our other moderators there. The moderators are the ones who are keeping it civil and respectful, even though we got people with different views. So thank you to them. Over there on Twitch, we have Bastion Girl, Matthew Kohai 3, Papa Bear, Surly Dev, all of our other Twitch moderators. Thank you. Kay Lowry Body, Margaret Riley on Facebook. Thank you so much. And our other Facebook mods, and Linda Belk, Larry, Misha over on X. Thank you, moderators. Thanks to everybody who donated. So nice of you guys. Your support is what allows the channel to be on the air. It's a viewer-supported channel. So I really, really appreciate it, all your support. Hopefully I thanked everybody during the broadcast. Richard Zinnia, thanks for your support on Twitch. Thank you, Richard. You know, Van Dan and PZ Papa Zulu and Benny Hill and TK and everybody I thanked earlier. Thank you. Bebop and Rocksteady. Karzar. Am I remembering the name right? Is it Karzar? The Karzar. And all of our other supporters. Thank you so much. Very nice of you. If you ever want to donate to the channel, you go to agendafree.tv, agendafree.tv. But thanks so much for your support and allowing this channel to exist. Hey, we have a chat. You can chat with other viewers when we're not live. A lot of our viewers like doing that on Discord. The Agenda Free TV Discord chat, it's free. Same link as the notifications, so check that out. Big thanks to our Discord moderators, too, for all you do. Thanks, Discord mods. Thanks, Babs, for the gift membership. Thank you, Babs. Hey, another good way to find out when we're live is to follow us on X. Those of you who use X, follow us on X at Agenda Free TV. Right there. I post when we're going live. I post updates about the channel. And for those of you who watch on YouTube, I would suggest that you turn on the notifications on YouTube, which can be very helpful in telling you when we're live. But it's a little tricky to do that. So here is what you have to do to turn on the notifications on YouTube. You need to subscribe to the channel. And then you have to choose all notifications. You'll see right here, all notifications. You got to choose that. So make sure you do that if you're a YouTube viewer. I want to shout out some people. Our subscribers over on Twitch. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Subscribers on Twitch like Jackson22, Artful Nothing, Wall Street and Shaggy, Matthew Kohai 3, Geeg, Kitty Tiger, Shy-Town Bear, Jack's Animals, Allistic. So much news recently. Bogan04, Gina Pina, Captain Mackable's a viewer. Thanks for watching. Captain Mackable, I appreciate you watching. Douthis, thanks for subscribing. Hokies alum, Barcodable, Device X. Thanks all of our subscribers over on Twitch, all the rest of our subscribers. Thanks to our Facebook subscribers like Robert Rial II, Aaron Van Ness, Kay and Margaret, thanks for subscribing there. Sharon, Klaas, and Goslin. Lou Green, Eve Richards, all of our Facebook subscribers. Big thanks to you. And our YouTube members. Shout out to our YouTube members, such as Thomas Fleming, Awesome Dude, 152, J.K. Senar, Jen's Crunchy Vax, Dennis Kennedy, Dean R., Babs, Vandan, Confidence in God, Mama 457 Rose, Dr. McRib, CAC 813, Ethereal Planet, thank you. Stephanie Brunk, Roger Shoemaker, Kelly McAlien, Mama 457 Rose, Gary Baines, Cogito, Ergo Sum, MJ Monkey, Fuzzball Factory, Babs, NY Committee, Confidence in God, Chris N., all of our YouTube members, thank you, and our other viewers as well. Tenfold Lurker, our member. Sorry, there's some sirens going off outside. I apologize. Danny G., Revelations of Humankind. Ellie Lassetti, thanks for being members. Christy Claff, thanks for watching. Precious Smith. Paul Anderson was modding too. Thank you, Paul. I really appreciate it. Thanks, Paula Thompson, for watching. David Karshin. All right, it's time. I got to eat something. Who knows what will happen next? All right, guys. That is it for now. You've been watching our live coverage of the Trump tariff pause and reduction. But remember, there's a bunch of tariffs still on. A lot of countries have 10% tariffs on them. China still has 125% tariffs on them. And they've put 84% tariffs on the U.S. Maybe China will raise their tariffs even more because President Trump raised them by 21% this morning on China. Oh, by the way, Stephen Miller, who is one of President Trump's top advisors, the Deputy Chief of Staff, Stephen Miller posted a short while ago. He says, Stephen Miller, you have been watching the greatest economic master strategy from an American president in history. That is from Stephen Miller. Some of our viewers would agree, some of our viewers will not agree. Okay, let's wrap this up. Thank you guys for joining us as we were covering the pause and reduction on some of the tariffs. But the tariff news is not over. Because again, let me remind you, 125% still on China, 10% on many countries. And also some tariffs on some goods coming into the country like steel and aluminum, and some tariffs on Mexico and Canada. So I'm guessing there'll be a bunch more tariff news to come. But that is it for now. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you soon with more live breaking news coverage right here at Agenda Free TV.